Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Master Ningen here. We are back for another episode of the Slot One Super Podcast. Welcome to everyone that is here live. We have a big show today. It's episode 60. It is the 10th anniversary special. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, loads of new units, new events, all sorts of crazy stuff. And so, of course, with so much going on, as always, I can't do this alone. So we have our two regular guests, but they're both special to me. We got our boy Vilify and Minato's Flash. How is it going this week, everyone?
This is going pretty good. Lots to do. Very busy.
Yeah, lots to do. Yeah. And of course, as you can see, we do have a very special guest this week for the 10th anniversary, the biggest, most important celebration of Dokkan history, probably. So we have none other than the man himself, Datruthdt DT. How's it going, my dude?
Good, because it's 10th anniversary, and I love Dokkan too. That's what I want to say.
Well, there you go. So
I love the battle motion. It's my favorite part.
There you go.
Yeah, lots of we got some stuff to talk about. We were going to talk about Dokkan 2 because I think the last episode it wasn't fully implemented yet, so that is one of the things on the list. But obviously, I guess the best place to start will be jumping in with the big boys themselves. Before we get stuck into that, as always, shout out to everyone who is here live. If you guys want to help support the podcast, if you want to ask any questions, give any shout outs, any of that kind of stuff, all super chats and donations will be read out towards the end. Truth may leave us before the end, so if you have any directed at him, get them in and we will try and get those asked before he heads off. So we are going to go ahead and jump straight in. Trying to remember which unit I actually have up on the screen first, so it's going to be a surprise to me as we jump over to this one. Okay, I've still got the super EZA ones. We're not going to start with them. So we are going to go ahead and start with, I guess, the biggest one, the most important one, and that is the new Dokkan Fest LR.
I saw Goku.
No, that's what we should really talk about. The real big boy is the Hercule, obviously. But yeah, the new Dokkan Fest LR, Goku with the new reversible exchange mechanic into Vegeta, and then of course two different active skills, which I thought was definitely a very interesting way of going about this, right, for each of the two forms. One, of course, results in the fusion into Vegito. New meta of leader skill. I mean, it's all going on with this Vegito. So I guess, being the special guest for the episode, I'll hand it over to you straight away, Truth. What are your thoughts on the release and just in-game performance, everything in general, I guess, really, when it comes to Tech Dokkan Fest Vegito?
Well, I mean, a boring answer I could give, well, at least at the start, would be he's exactly what Anniversary Part 1 LRs are, right? Like, This is the first shared anniversary. So it's like global players typically get the Anniversary LRs, usually when there's at least other characters competing with the headliners, right? Like, I don't know, 2022, we have Vegeta and Trunks, who was better, right? Then last year, or 2023, we have... actually... Well, I guess we would have Bulma, and Piccolo was kind of already on that level. But, like, Vegito and the Part 2 Dokkan Fest are going to dominate at the top until, like, July. Probably, like, unparalleled, right? Like, we'll see. I mean, they could always go crazy with, like, EZAs for, like, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and the Gods or something like that. But at, like, Vegito, you could see that he is set to be good in almost any situation. I don't, like... A lot of times characters have, like, little weaknesses that they kind of put in the kit. That's, like, just, like, a little thing. Not a big deal, just to make sure the unit is not, like, perfect in every way. But even, like, outside of, like, Goku getting locked, but even then he still has a lot of damage reduction. It's difficult to see these characters getting, like, exposed.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to see just how the game has, like, already started to change with how, like, impactful this release is, especially with the leader skill. Like, just the amount of characters that this guy covers, it's like you almost refresh to any team and it's just like that's the guy that comes up. is Goku. So it's pretty impressive stuff for sure. And just like the way that Vegito handles things, right? If you have like a Vegito on separate rotations, I don't think that there's very few bosses that could get through 2 turns of what Vegito brings to the table, especially if he uses active skill. It's pretty impressive stuff.
And I would say it's like Truth said, it's very little holes. You have Goku with 90% reduction, then that lasts until you can do the fuse with Vegito or until you get Vegeta out. And Vegeta is invincible slot 1 defensive stacking character. Like guard 70% reduction and he stacks is insane just on its own. And he supports. Like this character's design, I think, is one of the best. Like Dokkan Hall of Fame character designs, this guy is up there. Like his design is so enjoyable and so good. I think everything plays so well into each other, and then all the build up plays super well into Vegito at the end. It's just absolutely just cinema, peak cinema. And when you get Vegito out, man, he just gaps the game so hard. It's actually kind of crazy right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll do for the part 2 LR to like comparatively make them on that Vegito's level. I mean, I'm sure they could come up with something, but it's like the invincibility plus the counters is like we'll need like the hardest boss in the game would have to like stun you or something so that Vegito can't do his counters. Like that's the only thing I could think of where that would like really like kind of hold him down. And it's like no, right? Otherwise he just like destroys everything. So
Yeah.
I think you put it a good way, right? Where it's like a seal isn't just like a kiss of death for this character. And I think that's, that could be the case for some, but not this guy.
Yeah, because that's the thing, actually, because wasn't it you were telling me before we started, because obviously, like, just a good, I guess before we get into that, just to throw in my 2 cents as well, obviously, right, I've had a bit of experience with using Vegito as a friend. I did not get lucky with my summons, so I don't have him, but he definitely is very, very good. The new leader skill thing is pretty crazy. Obviously, the fact that we can get to teams that have 1,000,000 HP now is kind of wild, especially with the fact I saw some really funny builds that people had made like straight away just to be able to hit 1,000,000 defense, 1,000,000 HP, and some of the units were questionable, shall we say. But you can definitely put together teams that just get over that 1,000,000 mark, but that are still very good for like end game content, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I really like the idea of the design. I think the funny thing is with the content that we have at the moment is the only thing I would say, I guess, is like a nitpick of the design for like the reversible exchange, like mechanic as a whole, I guess, is that because they're so good, the content that we have available at the moment isn't really long enough for you to do a lot with the reversible exchange, right? You can switch to Vegeta straight away, and then you can essentially switch back to Goku, fuse into Vegito, and then you've kind of won already, like a couple of turns later. So it's going to be interesting to see as we get towards the end of the anniversary if we get these harder stages that will then potentially go for longer, and then you really get to play around with like which one do you want to stack with first and all that kind of stuff. So definitely seem very good. But yeah, the thing you were saying, Vilify, there's the thing to do with sealing with these guys, right? Which obviously I haven't tested myself, but
yeah,
I'm telling you about
I
before.
just was told. Yeah, a friend of mine messaged me saying that if like Vegeta is sealed and you tag to Goku, he's no longer sealed. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I just want to make
sure. That's fantastic.
So yeah, that's just more utility that these characters have, and I guess it just comes down to the fact that it's like technically a separate character. I guess, right? That would be the reasoning for it. It's not like a bug or anything.
It does not work with locking.
Right.
Okay, just sealing.
I guess because what locking is doing is not hitting the character but the slot itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I guess the coding would just be like slot 2.
Oh my god.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just like you'd think that like maybe a domain would do that, but just like something as simple as just like quickly tagging and then moving. But,
I mean,
yeah.
you know what's
I don't know how easy it would be to test, but I guess something to test with it. It will probably work the same. Would be to go into the collection of epic battles events, because there's the Gohan and Cell that stun for 9 turns, right? 9 turns. So you could get like Goku or Vegeta stunned and then see if you'd be able to swap. But I don't like those bosses would die to almost anything. Like, it'd be tough to do.
Yeah. Another thing, that we could bring up about locking is like, we talked about Goku could potentially die if he gets locked and in slot 1. if you're able to exchange to Vegeta, you could just do that as well.
Yeah.
Right? By that point, if it's like a lock in like turn 5, oh well, just switch to Vegeta and you're good.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. Going into, before we knew much about it, that was kind of the speculation of a good blueprint for this design, right? Is to have one character that can be that defensive slot one if you need it, and then another character, the other character can be more offensive focused, and then depending on what you need for the turn, you can obviously switch and just have whatever that turn requires. So one thing I mentioned it briefly, like when introducing the unit, what do you guys think about, obviously we kind of assumed that it would just be the case of you switch between these guys, you know, we didn't know how it was going to work, but you switch between them potentially however many times or as much as you want, and then ultimately end up fusing into Vegito. Do you have any thoughts on, obviously, the design, the fact that they actually both have active skills that are very different, and obviously you only get to use one of them, which I thought was definitely a very interesting touch. And I thought the design, having the one that Vegeta has, even though it's probably not the one you're going to use because you want to use Vegito, like I thought it was actually very cool.
Well, let me slide in. I would just say that the Vegeta active skill actually kicks ass for doing showcases, because rather than going to Vegito, who will kill everything before any other unit can do anything, you just have Vegeta crush the Patara, and then you can continue focusing on the other character, right? So
Yeah, that is true.
And I the guard also applies to Goku, right? When you use Vegeta's
it
action.
does. Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah,
I
when
was
you-
going to
when you
say,
do the guard, yeah.
yeah, that was the one thing I wasn't too sure on, because it just gives the unit permanent guard and the buff, right, for the stats. So then if you switch back to Goku, yeah, so that's really cool. And obviously if you're running double leads, you could do one with one and one with the other. Like, I definitely thought that was a very cool idea. Like, yeah, the idea of refusing to fuse and then just getting the big buff. Obviously, Vegeto's kind of like the big flashy finale that we want to see, but obviously Vegeta does have the use as well with that active skill. So I thought that was definitely very cool.
I mean, what you could do is you could have Goku Vegeta as a rotation. You with one of the units, you switch to Vegeta, use the active skill, then like switch them back and forth, so you have that rotation. And then at the end of the fight, when you fuse into Vegito with the one that then you use the active skill, then the other one you switch back into Vegeta, and then he's supporting offensively to Vegito. Like, there's a lot of interesting things you could do with this character, like even as a rotation together, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely a very interesting design. Also, what do we think about, I guess technically it's another new mechanic, because I've already been called out a couple of times in chat, I'm so used to playing the game for so long, right, and having the certain verbiage for the game, the fact that Vegito only has an ultra super attack. So if he does an additional, it's an additional ultra super attack, which means I now have to try and change my 9 years of Dokkan. Well, I suppose LRs weren't around right from the beginning, but my Dokkan vocabulary, because for me personally, I always just call the ultra super attack the 18 key super, whereas of course now it's not an 18 key super because he only does the ultra super.
Golden Great Ape is the same way too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the Golden Great Ape has it as well. So yeah, interesting mechanic, because I guess one of the things we always speculated about over the years is, will we see an LR one day that does an additional ultra super instead of their additional super being a 12 key? And obviously now we kind of have that, but in the sense that it's the only super attack that he actually has. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Any nitpicks, any complaints? I've seen people say like, oh, only one super. That's only like, one super attack animation. The unit has like, the unit has enough.
Animations. Like,
You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? I mean, if they're gonna do 3 LRs, like something like, it's gonna be tough to do.
I would rather that single 18 key be as good as it is compared to making that 18 key worse and then adding a 12 key that also isn't really that great. That's my personal opinion.
I know people aren't the biggest fan of the length of Super Saiyan 4 Goku's 12 key, just to kind of keep it in the 12 key, 18 key discussion, right?
So the one where he hits them out of the building.
It's just when he transforms and he's a Super Saiyan 4. It's just so fast. Like that's it. It's just a quick animation. I know some people aren't happy about that.
Okay. The transformation.
The 12 key after he's in Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one. That's the one where it starts off with like it shows the tower, right, and then he like. I love that. I think that's so good. I love the idea like it just shows the building in the background, and then it's like him like just flying them out the building. That's so good.
Good animation.
But yeah, I've seen people praising them all around. I don't think anyone has really had criticisms that I've seen, but obviously general thoughts. I'm sure we're all, I would imagine, on the same boat of the animations for this unit. What do you guys think?
I think these are some of the best animations ever. Just that's really it, plain
Yeah.
and simple.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
like
you
even
could tell the love. Sorry,
now go on.
you could tell the love went into that ultra super attack and the active skill for Vegito especially.
Yeah, the
And the
Vegeta one's
surprise
crazy.
Super Saiyan 3 cameo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I love that as well. Like even the fact that Goku going Super Saiyan 3 in the 18 key kind of took me by surprise.
Beyond Power Beyond Super Saiyan.
I was gonna say it did throw me off a little bit because when we watched the reveal stream, like when he went Super Saiyan 3 in the super attack, based on some of the stuff that we've had from other units, I said straight away, I was like, oh, so does this mean he's going to be on the Super Saiyan 3 category? But no, they didn't quite go that far. But
You guys aren't familiar with Android 13 movie Trunks, huh?
You're not familiar with
Yes.
LR, Goten, and Trunks, are you, buddy?
Yes,
LR, Goten, and Trunks. You know what's funny? They're the only unit on Power Beyond Super Saiyan that's not on another Super Saiyan's team. They're just on Power Beyond Super Saiyan. LR, Goten, and Trunks. They're not even on Super Saiyan 3.
That's
Sorry,
interesting.
Minato, you lost, buddy. It's okay.
No.
You give me a kiss. Mwah.
There you go.
But yeah, that's but yeah, very, very good unit. Very strong overall. I mean, I imagine we would, without getting into a huge debate about it, probably the best unit in the game at this point. Definitely makes you
I
wonder
think
what they're
when Vegito
doing.
is fused, at 55%, his performance is better than any other character.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. He just does so much, and it's interesting the fact that they even said, which I saw some people like sort of memeing it, making fun of it to a certain extent because it's a PvE game, but just the fact that they even mentioned like in the stream, it's like, yeah, he's a limited turn fusion because he's just that good. He's that guy, and it would ruin the game balancing if you just fused into him and then that was it. You just got to be him for the rest of the event, which is quite funny. So yeah,
It'll be interesting to see how they're gonna make the part 2 Dokkan Fest as good. I would imagine they're gonna be pretty similar.
yeah,
So it's interesting to see exactly how they go about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where there are gaps between the Dokkan Fest in the same celebration, where it's like in previous celebrations we've seen. So I don't know.
Like being
that's-
first Broly.
Yeah, it's like, so I just feel like with how this guy is designed, you almost have to give them like literally the exact same kit. And it's like Vegito is the counter guy. There's what other characters is the counter guy like Vegito? Basically no one. So I don't know.
yeah, that's another thing as well. The counters do be going crazy. I love the counter animation as well. It's very simple and straightforward, but it just looks very cool. So yeah, Vegito, super good. Great unit, great design all round. And yeah, just very fun to use so far. I guess we'll talk about the overall sort of leader skill thing, I guess, once we go through the others as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the second unit here, which is going to be the GT Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who of course transforms into a golden grey ape and then transforms into Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So Minato, why don't you start us off with this one? What are your thoughts on the GT Goku?
I think he has very solid design. Actually, like he's one of my favorite also designs that the game has released. I think it's his Super Saiyan 3 Goku himself. He's not like anything like he's like top mega tier. But I think he has just a lot of good stuff that makes a good character. He's kind of just like, just does like a 30 mil attack stat, then he has the dodge, the guard, a little bit of support. He's just doing a little bit of stuff, but especially once you get into Super Saiyan 4, yeah, you have the turn of the Golden Grade Ape that can cancel potentially the boss's super. It's free damage. Then, if he does cancel the super, you get into the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then you could start getting all that multi-turn support rolling, so that even if you're, because the thing about his leader skill is that the giant ape power characters aren't really that great, honestly, for the most part. Like with Goku's influence, he makes them a lot stronger, but you need to get his super attacks rolling. So I think it could potentially provide a safe turn 1 for those characters, so that Goku then can start really providing that support for multiple turns, and he gets some damage reduction. He himself, like, I think people may not realize how much defense he actually gets on super attack. because I think it adds up to like what 360% or something when he's actually attacking. So the amount of defense he gets on super is really crazy. And whilst he's not slot one, he's doing a lot to help other characters who can slot one tank a lot better, which I also do enjoy. I just don't really see an issue. And he's stacking. It's like he's actually absurd. I feel like he's like very, very like concretely like, in my opinion, second best character in the game. I think the only thing about him is his leader skill could have been better, but really that's the only thing I would say about him. Oh, also, I do like that they actually made his link set like have prepared for battle and stuff like that compared to like over in a flash and limit breaking form in Super Saiyan 3. I think that is just a nice change to make him synergize better with the team early on.
Yeah.
Real quick, with that Super Saiyan 3 Goku, one thing I really like is his buff, the 4 turns from character's entry turn for the dodge and the guard. It, like, no matter what, you're going to have that up until he goes Golden Great Ape.
Yep.
Like, you're never going to be locked out of being able to go Golden Great Ape without that defense there, which is pretty big.
Yeah, it's like it's the best way of designing that kind of like pre-transformation, right? It avoids the issue that, you know, to bring up the classic meme, it avoids the issue with like the blue boys where it's like you get to the turn where they no longer have guard, but you can't fuse, right? So you've got...
Yeah, them 7th anniversary LR.
Yeah.
Like we've seen a lot of characters, again, with small weaknesses like that to make it easier to power creep, but Dokkan, they just aren't caring these days. That's why I think the damage threshold is coming with a vengeance.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
can definitely see that.
Oh, yeah.
That and
That's
just,
how
like,
they're power creeping now.
yeah, they're like, yeah, 30 mil damage cap.
I mean, that's the thing, is that is the true, like, one of the truest ways of doing the sort of power creep, right? I'm sure we talked about this. I think we may have talked about it on the last episode. I know I've talked about it before, but it's like you could, with the right luck, and if you took enough attempts, like you could get sort of funny joke meme teams, whatever, like challenge teams through difficult content if you really stuck at it hard enough. But obviously with the damage cap mechanic, like there are just certain teams for these certain events that they will just not be able to win the event because you can't kill the boss.
Yoda Megetta runs are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw a sprinkle of it too in the Namek Red Zone, the Vegeta story one. I'm pretty sure I don't know the exact number, but I know Frieza has a damage cap because I've seen plenty of zeros in there if they're not crits.
I
Yeah,
don't think it's like that.
It's not
high, but
crazy.
it's
I know that.
yeah, I think
It's
I've
not Goku
noticed it's
Frieza.
more so for like if you're getting additional normals and stuff, and like you say, not critting, you'll see it a little bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far they push that, especially now with some of these new units, including the Super EZAs that we're going to talk about in a bit. Like how hard some of these characters are hitting. Like the hardest hitting teams really are going crazy.
There's one thing I want to say about Super Saiyan 4 Goku as well that I don't really see anyone talk about, but he has that heal in his back pocket, the 44% heal. And with how high the HP your team has now, he recovers. He can recover so much health.
Yeah.
Like again, literally, if you have like 1 mil HP or something, that's literally like 440.
Yep.
Right? It's
a
a
ridiculous
lot.
amount of HP, yeah. And that's the thing, if the team's got that much HP, you know, if he's only healing you at the start of the turn if you've got 44% or less, but even then, that means you've still got around 400k HP on some of these teams, which is a decent amount. It's not like you were, you know, on the edge of death at the end of the previous turn, and then you get this massive heal as well. So yeah, definitely very, very good. Vil, what are your thoughts on the Super Saiyan 4 Goku?
I feel like the others covered it pretty well, but just to kind of put an example of like what the support is doing, I'm sure all of us saw the clip on Twitter of Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito tanking the Goku Frieza Super under 50% HP, which is still, you know, one of the hardest hitting supers in the game. So just being able to give that support
on
is
the
crazy.
heroes.
You could?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
It's,
because
I mean, you needed specific luck, but I mean, that's to be fair. The Great Ape Power team in there needs specific luck too, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, all the
Yeah, so-
walking stuff. Also, you know, you type advantage merchant. I don't know. Not just kidding.
I think also his leader skill potentially, like, is this a unit like you pull and then it's sort of just like I don't know if using it like a term to pull a brand new anniversary LR as an investment would be like the right word, but like who knows with the Grade 8 Power team or the Giant 8 Power team where it could potentially be in 6 months, right? Or by the time Worldwide comes around, who knows? Because we already know one of the major characters, right? With being G4's EZA.
Yeah, and then
I don't know if that's enough.
Grade 8. Well, we have Gogeta 4
and
Grade 8
Tech.
Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also still have the GT Super Saiyan Golden Week characters.
Yep.
They're on that team.
Yeah.
We have in Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of potential. You know, I was thinking maybe this year we can get like a Wrathful Broly Dokkan Fest. Is he on Grade 8 Power, actually?
I don't think he is.
Yeah.
He is?
Is he?
No, he is. Yeah.
Okay,
He
good.
is? Okay, I thought so. I was like, he should be.
Yeah, he should be.
But I was thinking maybe we can get like a Dokkan Fest for him this year.
Mm.
And I think that'd be really cool.
Mhm.
I
and
like
yeah,
it. You
yeah.
can make another 10 LRs from the Broly movie animations,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like
Wrathful
Wrathful
Broly
Broly.
absolutely deserves, and he's got one card in the game that then EZA'd
Yeah.
straight away, so was never able to get
Yeah.
that second
Hey, back
chance.
then, him easing right away was mad hype.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, things
Yeah.
have changed since then.
That's
but
the
back
thing,
then,
yeah.
It was like, oh.
It was super cool at the time, and then yeah, it's like, oh, now he has nowhere to go from here. So
Right.
yeah,
And
getting
we
another
do know
one would
that
be good.
that free-to-play Paragus, they said he was going to easy in another option. I would assume he would like easy with another Broly character.
Yeah, true.
So, like, imagine Wrathful Broly has 220% uncontrollable power.
Oof, yeah, that would be spicy. But yeah, so just to add on a little, like the thing is, I guess to go into a little bit about his pros and cons. Like again, he's unfortunately for me, my anniversary luck has been terrible, so I don't have him either. And the one thing that really stands out, like kind of to add on to what Vilify was saying about whether these sort of units pulling them, whether they're sort of an investment, what will the team look like in the future? I think out of the three, he's got the worst leader skill. He stands out as the one that, like, if you don't pull him, then like good luck trying to use him, because like it's one of these things sometimes where you get, if a unit has like a really good leader skill that's really interchangeable with some of the other like big meta characters, it's very easy to make a team where you just bring them as a friend, so you get to try them out and see what they're like. Whereas obviously Goku having Giant 8 power, it's kind of like the only team you can really run is like, I think I ran to try him out, it's like the Int Super Saiyan 4 Tanabata Goku, and then every unit on the team has to be Giant 8 power, but because of Tanabata Goku's leader skill, he doesn't have any of the heroes Super Saiyan 4s on his team apart from the Limit Breakers, so like the team is just nowhere near as good as other teams that are like, you can't jump into even some of the, I would say, second tier like difficult events that we have at the moment with that team. So he's one of those units, he strikes me very much out of the three as like, he's a really, really good unit to have, because you can just throw him on other teams, even if it's not necessarily going to be his best setup for his individual performance. The fact that he has that support is really, really helpful as well, especially because it's for Power Beyond Super Saiyan for one, which is insane, right? Giving the 70% defense and 10% damage reduction once he's transformed is crazy. I saw a screenshot of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, obviously, who we're all very much waiting for him to get his Super EZA. I saw a screenshot of him tanking Goku and Frieza's super attack, like on rotation with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which is pretty fun. So yeah, he's really, really good if you have him. And it's interesting as well that we kind of all assumed we were getting this unit to come soon because of the mechanic that we saw in the data download a little while ago with the active skill thing, with like the active skill in all three slots. And then of course this guy got confirmed as the release, but he doesn't have that mechanic. He just has the, to be fair, probably better and quite straightforward. You get that turn of the Giant Ape, and then he just transforms into Super Saiyan 4 Goku straight away. So what do you guys think about that, as opposed to like a normal ape mechanic or like a normal transformation?
I think it's fine. One thing that I'm actually interested in is
You think turn 2 Super Saiyan 4 Goku is only fine?
no, I think it's really good.
Fine is all we're saying.
It's very good.
Anti-transformation? Come on. I
No.
need some hype, dude.
Yes, it's really good. Okay, but no, the point I was gonna make is I find it interesting that they put like that active skill kind of mechanic where it's like on all three slots, and then they didn't use it for this guy. Doesn't really matter, and I think it's like like at the end of the day, you would use the active skill or not. I think it's really good the way it is. But I just find that interesting that they have that in the data, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're just not going to use it. Maybe they changed their minds. who
I guess it's
knows?
weird because if it's like if the active skill was to transform, then it's like you'd be doing that instead of then attacking with the giant ape. And because giant ape or rage modes like generally aren't that great in terms of like, you know, you do get a turn of free damage. They've obviously got their pros for sure, like cancelling out enemy abilities and stuff like that, but they don't usually tend to do a lot of damage. So if your choice was attack with the giant ape 3 times or use the active skill to transform into Super Saiyan 4 Goku, you'd just be doing that every time. So it will be interesting to see what they do actually use that mechanic for. I suppose it could be like when you're in the ape mode, the ape has an active skill that is an attack, for example, and then you still at the end of the transformation, at the end of the turn. It's interesting. It is only one turn, right? Because it's only been every time I've used it, right?
Yeah.
It's not like another giant form where you can get 2 turns or anything like that. So, but yeah, definitely very interesting, especially because you, like I say, can use that strategy of like cancelling out the enemy abilities and then you get Super Saiyan 4 Goku out. And the fact that he has that buff for 2 turns on his super attack as well. He really does feel, like I say, out of all 3 units, I mean, Vegito is good enough himself that I suppose you could throw him on any team he can be on, and obviously he's still going to do well. But the Goku does feel like that unit that you can just throw on any team and he can like contribute to that team, even if it's not his best individual like sort of showcase performance, which is really good because obviously we're always going to get more Power Beyond Super Saiyan characters. So
Even just like with the 2-turn buff that applies to anyone, and
yep,
like especially with Vegito's counter damage, it works like what Damagoku would do, but better.
Yeah.
Well, Damagoku could provide more, but like it still does the same effects, and those counters are hit.
yep. Well, it's like I ran a team earlier. I've got a thing. I think it goes up a bit later tonight, but it's like with under Vegito's lead, because he's got such an expansive leader skill. You've got like this Super Saiyan 4 Goku on that team and Daima Goku. And so like they're all getting their attacks off, and then you get units like Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, who's getting Vegito's full leader skill. Then on the next turn with all of those buffs, and like these guys are just going absolutely crazy. So they really do have a great mix of all of these things, right? Like they have their own stats, their own abilities, and then this support as well. Very, very good. And so with that, we will then move on to the 3rd unit of the anniversary. And this one definitely is the one that has had a much more mixed reception. And that is, of course, our boy STR Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. So, Truth.
Take it away.
Yeah, do you want to start us off?
Here's the thing with Vegeta, right? Like, he's okay. Like, he's not like a disaster or something like that.
Yep.
But Vegeta does nothing that is going to help you. The second a boss has anything really toxic or really frustrating, Vegeta has no counter to it whatsoever. He is susceptible to locking, AoEs, damage threshold. Every toxic mechanic you throw out, he's weak to it because he's just a slot 2 damage dealer. That's the issue. There is a simple fix to Vegeta. You just give him Beast Gohan's active, and bam. But like that's the like Beast is like a top 5 level character because of his active. Is really the thing, and it's like that's what Vegeta needs to kind of get back up in line with Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegito.
I think even besides the fact that he would need like some sort of like extra ability to make him truly stand out, his design in itself conflicts with itself. Like I think, you have the Rainbow Orb changing, and then once he makes him, he wants to collect the key spheres. That's nice, but then it's like the medium chances to actually get those super attacks off conflicts very badly with the super attack requirements, because he's a slot 2 damage dealer, but he doesn't get any of his crit until he does 7 supers.
Yeah, and that's why it's best to just not even really concern yourself with that. Like I look at him very similarly to Physical Rose, where it's like if you're not pounding him with crits in his potential system, so that all these normals are crits, you then kind of come to the conclusion of why even run him in the first place. He's doing nothing.
Exactly. And like if you get really bad luck, you could have turns where he's missing on that 30% reduction because his intro will run out, and then it's like, oh, he didn't get 6 supers, or maybe even the orbs, like you didn't get the luckiest too. It's like there's a lot of RNG reliancy on him to look good, and I feel like, I don't know, did they get scared or something? Um, I mean, I was looking at the Evolution Blue and Kalkin from last year with an EZA, and it's like they can get 3 additionals with a high chance to super, and they're also rainbow orb changing. I don't know why this guy couldn't get his like addition high chances, or like they get just crit for free at 24 key. Why does this guy have to wait so long to get his crit as a damage dealer? It's really weird. I don't know like what they were thinking. Like, okay, I would say I had someone bring this up to me, and I think it could be interesting. But even if they like, so someone said, what if the part 2 rivals LR is like Super Saiyan God Vegeta from the Broly movie? And I was like, okay, well, maybe if that's the case, and he's like slot 1, they could pair together. But then this guy's missing, would be missing his unit super attack and wouldn't stack. It's, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a lot. That's just like, I'm just not a fan of how they design. I think it's very conflicting and just kind of dumb, honestly.
Mm.
A lot of holes in the kit, you could say.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that one of these headliners is like not just like consensus undoubtedly top 5 like the other 2 are.
I mean, there are low-key turns where the int Blue Evolution Vegeta could look better with his revive up. And then he's like doing more consistent damage than this guy's at times. It's I would say obviously I do think this guy's better than the int one, but it's like the fact that you could even like talk about that is very odd to me.
I get the opposite comment a lot. Like where people are just saying like the N1 is better than the STR one, and it's kind of tough to. I mean, I think the STR one is better, but again, like the people do say, like I've seen people say it. It's not like an uncommon take.
Well, because I mean, the int one could, not be
Useless.
like if you jump into an event and you get double Vegeta plus Jiren, and it's just like you're in trouble. Whereas like int Vegeta has got guards, so he could like at least handle a little pressure at the start. Or, I mean, these fights are probably going to be catered around the Dokkan Fest exclusive, Vegito. And, I think the Part 2 Dokkan Fest exclusive will be similar. Let's just say that. So, that means fights are probably going to get longer. They probably are. Like, towards the end of this anniversary, fights are probably going to be kind of, like, skewered a little bit longer than, say, like, Gogeta and Janemba. And if that's the case, then in Evolution Blue Vegeta will be able to easily access his revive.
Which that'll be a big matter,
STR right? Vegeta doesn't have anything like that.
It's like he greatly stacks attack, but then it's like later on the fight he loses his buff. So it's not like his damage will just go down anyways later on.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very strange design. I mean, I think it's one of those things like you could probably say maybe I don't know. I've seen a mixed bag of responses, right? So I would say maybe that he is being a bit underrated, but I think the huge thing is the fact that he is just so much worse than the other 2, which is what makes him seem so much worse, right? Is the fact that you've got these other 2 units, very, very good, like we've all, singing the praises of their design, and then you've got this guy, and it's like, yeah, he's good, but he's nowhere near as good as the other 2, and so of course that's very disappointing when you have the setup like this for the anniversary and you've got 3 headliners, and you can't even say if there were only 2, like previous excuses in the past where people will say like, oh well, he's only the Carnival LR, but then it's like, but then you've also got Super Saiyan 4 Goku, who is considerably better than him and is also a Carnival LR. It just feels like they really just didn't do enough for this guy considering what everybody else got. And again, even comparing him to Goku, who is a Carnival LR, who has multiple transformations, and I love the fact people have pointed out when they started talking about the animations and stuff like that on the stream, and they mentioned the active skill, and then the guy that was there that was like the special guest was like, oh yeah, tell us about the active skills. Like, it's these big anniversary units, it makes sense that they all have one, right? And then like Vegeta doesn't have one because he just doesn't really have his only thing is the unit super, which is cool, but it's not enough. So
I saw something where it's like it's funny. There was this thumbnail that Nano had made ahead of time from what I saw, but it had on the thumbnail
Yeah.
Vegeta with an active, had all three anniversary alerts an active, and then it was obviously made ahead of time. I think he said that and applied to it. I just find that funny. It's like, when's the last time we got a character that didn't have an active? Like, in some way or fashion.
Yeah, as well as
Or, like, obviously besides standby character,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Pretty much active skills. Like it's been a very long time.
I mean,
Just
we've even gotten to the point where banner units have them, right? Like
Yeah.
not consistently, like between every.
I mean,
banner,
Hercule
but
has Hercule has an active
that's
skill.
what I'm
This guy
saying,
doesn't, right?
But yeah, it's the fact that he's like, isn't he the first big like especially for a carnival LR, and he's got no active skill, like no transformation, no standby. Yeah, it's just very strange. It seems like they really it just feels like they didn't really try as much with this guy as they did with the other two, which is a shame because he's also, out of the characters that we got, like, he's that weird choice as well where he just is the same name and everything as the previous, like the int one from the 6th year. Whereas at least, the Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku, like, we don't really have one of them that's meta relevant. Obviously we've got plenty of Super Saiyan Gokus, but the exchange and the transformation and stuff makes that work, so that's fine. And then this guy just straight up conflicts with the previous LR, who is still good because of his EZA. The Reps of Universe 7 team is still good. It kind of feels like the only like real thing this guy has going for him is the fact that Reps of Universe 7 team, if you have Tech UI, AGL UI, Freezer and 17, you just replace Tech UI with this guy as the leader because now the team has a higher leader skill. But Tech UI, AGL UI, those guys are still the best units on the team as opposed to this guy. And it's one of those things, he's a very RNG, right? Like, I know if you get really lucky, if he's able to hit like the ceiling of what he's able to do, he can be really good, right? He can do a lot of damage if he does enough attacks within the turn, especially while his intro buff, well, it's not an intro obviously, but his intro buff is still, it's the intro, his intro buff is still up. He can get over 100% damage reduction, which is nice, but that's only within the first certain number of turns anyway. So if events do start to get a little bit longer, that's not going to hold up all the way through. And so then, it's just very disappointing for the, I think people were mixed when he was revealed as one of the picks. As a Vegeta fan, I was excited, especially with the art and with them revealing the name. It's like, we knew it must be a unit super. Like, I was quite excited for this guy. And, unfortunately, he is the worst of the three by, I would say, a fairly considerable margin. And then, of course, unfortunately for me, he's the only one I pulled. So,
I would say this.
You did W.
I feel like I'm not super pressed about it because, I mean, Evolution Blue Vegeta, he ran 2024. So, like, it's like he dominated, like, the whole year, him and AGL UI.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's not the, it's all right. It's all right.
And at the end of the day, this guy is still like a good character, and he
Mhm.
still provides like a really nice, solid kit. It's just he's not outstanding. Is the only thing for like a 10th anniversary LR.
Right.
Like, I think the rainbow orb changing will always be useful. For sure, right? And the reps team didn't really have an orb changer besides the Blue Cow Cannon Evolution Vegeta, right? So him providing the orb changing could be very nice, I think, as well.
I guess I could kind of pose a question. Do you think that the optimal way to run this team would be to run just one of the Evolution Blue Vegeta and then not another 220 as a friend lead?
Like, you mean like Tech UI as a friends?
Yeah.
don't know.
It's just a question. Yeah, it's not like I'm saying, okay. So you
I
just
think
would want to have two of them?
Maybe if Tech UI died a little less, I'd be more on board.
Also, the HP, I think,
Mhm.
is really nice. The extra 20% HP even.
It's
Because
it's one of those things, I guess it just adds in again to the disappointment with this guy, because it feels like the optimal way, I guess, to run that team is you do run double Vegeta, but then you just float him off, and then you're running like UI rotations, and
I think
disappointing.
how I like running the team is I like running Tech UI and Vegeta, then Ejo UI and a Vegeta.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
good.
have like, I don't know, like Jiren floating and some other characters.
Freezer and 17, like,
Team Universe 7,
Yeah.
right? It's like that. I think that's a very solid team. But yeah, I think Vegeta could have been a bit better.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like that team.
Super attacks would make things a very big difference.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, like that team, for the example, that Rets of Universe 17 with the double Vegeta leads, like that team's still good, and all the content that we have up to now, like that team is still going to be able to handle that content. It's just the fact, as we've said, compared to the other two, he's just not on the same level. So even though he is good, it does feel a little bit disappointing, which is a shame. So it'll be interesting to see, once we do get the information on the part 2 characters, if there is a similar sort of gap when it comes to one of the units compared to the other two, or even comparing the units to the part 1. Because like, imagine if, even if there is a bit of a gap between the part 2 units, but then like all 3 of them are better than Vegeta, and that's just going to make his release feel even more disappointing, right? So definitely a shame. Definitely could have had a bit more, and with how broken they've made like Vegito, and how good Goku is, it really doesn't feel like they could have, they could have given him a bit more without him then suddenly being the best of the 3, right? So a little bit
they could just
disappointing.
His easy in 3 years will save.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so we have one other new unit that released as well, which of course wasn't revealed in the live stream. And funnily enough, I missed, like, after the live stream, we watched it, and then I went off and did some stuff. Didn't actually see the data download info straight away. And of course, that's where we saw the information, and then the animations got posted and everything for the banner unit for Vegito, which is the STR Hercule, who genuinely loved when I first got to watch the animations. The fact that they actually gave him the Goku Patara fusion with his own unique spirit bomb as an active skill. I haven't had much of a chance to use him. I think in my final summons for trying to get Vegito, I did manage to pull a copy of him, so I'm in the process of link leveling him and stuff now. But I've seen a lot of people saying that he is quite good. So what are your guys' thoughts on the banner unit Hercule?
I like him. I think he's very nice. I haven't used him like too much, like like that showcase for him or anything, but he's just really nice, and I think the active skill could probably do some pretty decent damage too. Get him stacked up through the fight. I think he's a very safe option that you could use as a floater character. Even definitely, like he's the best banner unit, right? I don't think there's any other character that's really in contention. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Truth, have you used the Hercule much at this point?
Just a bit. I mean, he seems effective. Nice support, nice defensive abilities. I mean, he seems like a pretty good unit. Like, he's what these banner units really should be. So it'll be interesting to see. I guess the Part 2 Dokkan Fest will probably be led by successors. And hopefully we get a similar banner unit that'll kind of like work effectively for that category too. Because that team is a mess.
Yeah.
They're really banking on full power freezes EZA being something.
No, the new LR demaking.
Of course.
Yep. And he's gonna rotation of him and Evolution Vegeta is gonna go.
I
was seeing jokes that there's gonna be that there was voiced Goku before an LR Kid Buu.
Yep. I just love the fact that we actually got that in the game.
List.
It's like people have joked about that as an option for like the April Fool's card before in the past and stuff like that. And so the fact that we now do actually have it in the game, I think is great. Another thing to check off the list. So yeah, definitely very cool. So those are the 4 units. Just to guess before we move on to some of the super EZAs. We do have, of course, the big thing with these guys. We talked about their leads a little bit in terms of the categories themselves and stuff. But of course, we all wondered leading up to the 10th anniversary whether we would get an increase to the leader skill percentages. And we weren't sure if we would. We weren't sure which way it would go. And obviously now we have seen the new, I guess, meta for leader skills for the Dokkan Fests and the Carnivals. So 220% is the highest we can get now for attack and defense, and then 250% for HP for the Dokkan Fest. So obviously, Truth, as someone who has obviously, like many of us, I mean, we all have, but someone who's played the game for such a long time, what do you think this increase to the leader skill meta is going to do in terms of, you know, upcoming power creep, how these teams are going to look going forward? Like, what are your thoughts on this new leader skill advance?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is going to be the HP, maybe even more so than the attack and defense. I mean, obviously the extra stats are useful for characters, but I think our teams, because I mean, you look at what Vegito's leader skill is, where it's double 250% for HP. That's going to be real substantial. So it's the thing is, some of these questions are hard to gauge because it's like we're going to get the fights in part 2 and part 3 that are really going to shape kind of like how effective characters are, what characters are good in what spots, and how things are going to go the rest of the year, right? Like, it's like right now we're really not too sure. Like, if you look at this exact spot last year, right? Like, it's like we were still like, well, the character is super good in Fusion Zamasu, and that fight became irrelevant, a week and a half later, basically. So it's tough. I think the HP will be the biggest thing from it, though.
Yeah. And I'll tell you any other
agree.
thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just think again, it's like being able to hit, like, you're gonna hit very easily 800k, 900k HP now. So seeing that is just really just being, I can't even word. I just my brain just like right now. But these bosses have to hit so much harder now for you to be in danger. Even just like, not even just the kits alone. So I just wonder what's gonna happen with these bosses, how they actually hit things, right?
Yeah.
We're already starting to see their HP be increased a decent bit with like multiple phases of like, hundreds of millions of HP, which was definitely not the case this time a year ago.
We're gonna get bosses on the level of the burst mode Kid Buu. Actually, we're generally
Well, as long as they don't heal the same amount.
yeah, I would assume not, but still.
I guess the thing that is the most interesting about it, obviously, is the fact that we are getting, by having such bigger amounts of HP, it means you take these units on the team. It's kind of like when, the physical trio came out, giving so much extra support. It made some of these units that were kind of just maybe starting to drop off. It gave them that little bit of the extra boost they needed to still be sort of runnable. And I feel like that same kind of thing applies here to a certain extent for some units. Obviously, some RNG comes into play, but like with the Vegito team, you've got some of these characters like the STR Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito, where it's like, if you get caught out early on and they take a super for like 500k, it's not as bad when you've got 1 million HP as opposed to when you're running a team that has like 750, right? So it does allow for some interesting choices, but kind of like Truth said, the meta's only really being shaped right until we start to get to the end of the anniversary. Like, it's, when the Broly stage came out, for example, to use the 7th anniversary power creep like example, that was when, there's like, those were the hard stages when we got to the end of the red zone. And we've already seen with the Goku story and Vegeta story, like those red zone stages being a little bit tougher than some of the ones we've had before. And of course, now the new units have come out, they make those stages much, much easier, but we've still got these later ones to come, which of course we assume it will provide a much higher level of difficulty. So definitely very interesting to see what that will mean going forward. The other question I wanted to ask you guys is, what do you think this means then? For example, will we start shifting towards these higher leader skills? Like the big question I had that we talked about earlier today on my stream is like, for example, the Dokkan Fest that comes out after the anniversary, their first Dokkan Fest TUR, what is their leader skill going to be? Will it go up to 220%? Is it going to stay 200? Like, what do we think we'll see going forward from here?
I think it would definitely be at least full 220%. One thing I'm not sure on is if the HP part would be the same.
I mean, have you seen
the
idea that they could, like, for certain characters, you know how there used to be the split leader skills during the 1% era? Like, someone brought it, like, do you think that they'll split it the other way, like defense to 50% or attack to 50%? like even if the Dokkan
Oh,
Fest
they
don't have
could.
that, but like
Yeah,
let's say
okay, yeah.
the Tanabata LR gets like attack 250%, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, because they started, it was like when we started getting 170 leads, right? But one of the stats was 130 or something, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that would be interesting. Because
It-
obviously for TURs, they could just do straight up like the two or three categories that get 170, and then the plus becomes 50 instead of 30. And then that means they're all
mean,
going up to 220.
That's what I could see that they do
but-
for the 200% leader skill EZAs, right? With like the year 7s. I think they'll just increase that last section to 50%.
Plus 50%, yeah.
So like the year 7s will become 220% leaders flat. And then I think maybe we could see that, like Drew said, for just TURs, and then LRs are the one that gets the extra buffs. And then that could be a way to kind of have them start setting like Dokkan Fest LRs apart from Dokkan Fest TURs, because we've been seeing like if for like a while now, it's like the difference between an LR and a TUR is not really that far. Like we had L'Oreal come out last year, right? Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku is like really up there. Well, like a lot of these other characters. And then if they do that, that could be a way for them to kind of be like, oh yeah, LRs have this a little bit of extra special thing to them. In terms of leader skill on top of everything else, right?
That when you mentioned the 130 to HP, I just got like a huge nostalgia blast of when the Hybrid Saiyans team was a thing, like way back in like 2021 probably. Like the Tech Gohan leader skill with the 130 HP. It was like a turtle mode team you would do. Running like that world tournament, Super Saiyan Gohan, AGL Gohan. It was a fun time. That's you just reminded me of that, so I figured I'd say it.
Yeah, that definitely would be interesting, especially like Minato said, if they keep it to like LRs, right, where it's like whether it's HP or whether it is one of the other stats would be kind of interesting, where it's like the 200% and then 170 plus 50, so one of the stats is getting 250. I do think that's an interesting way of doing it. Maybe with power creep in mind, right? The idea that the teams are getting more HP, which will help you survive fights a little bit easier. But obviously, whether it's the Carnival or the Vegito lead, the actual attack and defense only goes up to 220. So it's not like characters are jumping up so much in attack and defense that the bosses then need to get significantly harder. Which we've only gone up by sort of 20%. But then some teams will have a little bit more HP now as well, which I think is definitely an interesting way to go about it. So yeah, definitely will be very interesting to see. Obviously, especially with part 2, whether we do get any extreme leads or whether that will be saved for, because I think, isn't it, I tried to think back earlier how many years it's been, but it's at least the last 2 years in a row, maybe 3, where the first Dokkan Fest that came out after the anniversary was an extreme character. Because we had Frieza last year, the STR Super 17 was before that, and then I forget who was before him. Was it Ginyu?
I think it was Ginyu.
Yeah, so interesting to see if we do get the Dokkan Fest releasing after the anniversary as an extreme TUR, and then what kind of leader skill they will have, because some of these extreme characters, like the ones we're going to talk about very soon with the Super EZAs, obviously do not have access to a higher than 200% leader skill yet. Not that that's an issue for at least one of them.
It usually is a villain, huh?
Yeah.
For many years, it's been a villain, though.
Yeah, exactly. So
With the last one that wasn't was Trunks and Goten, I guess. Because it was Trunks and Goten, Ginyu, Super 17,
and Frieza. Yeah. So definitely will be interesting to see. As another question, I guess, just to before we move on, just very quickly, do you think any of the 3 headliners in part 2 will be an extreme character, or are we looking at all super class for part 2 as well?
All super class.
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I saw someone bring up what if the post Dokkan Fest is Garlic Jr. and he's like 220% to like a lot of these like what teams would it be again? Like I don't know, maybe demonic. Is Garlic Jr. demonic power? I don't think so.
Is Garlic Jr. on what?
I don't think
Demonic
he's on
power.
demonic power, right?
He is, yeah, he is.
He is.
Mazaku.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
The Mazaku, you goofy.
I'm sorry, bro.
Come on, please.
My bad.
We need you as our translator, man.
Look. Well, hopefully not as much anymore.
No, you will always be a translator in our hearts.
True. I
Important,
mean,
because we do need
Sure.
the Garlic Jr. battle motion. I'm down with him as a post-anniversary Dokkan Fest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is another thing as well, I guess. There's so many things to touch on with these new units, and that reminds me of
Right.
another one. But yeah, the animated sprites. So now we have some of them
Oh,
in the
yeah.
game. What are your guys' thoughts? What is there one that you want to see specifically as one of the next ones? I guess. What do you guys think about the sprites?
I like the mission they did for Evolution Blue Vegeta.
Oh God, yeah. Someone pointed that out to me. I didn't realize the fact that he's the only one with it. So the only way to do that mission is to actually pull that Vegeta because the friend doesn't count. So
Well,
I
this
think
just
it's
means they're dropping another Evolution Blue.
maybe, yeah. Because I mean, so I guess the reason the Int one doesn't have it is probably because of the costume, and then the ATL one doesn't have it because they don't want to give one to regular Blue Vegeta, I guess.
That would make sense.
interesting. But yeah, is
All
there a
very
unit
cool,
that
though.
stands out that you want to be one of the next ones to get the animated sprite?
Super Saiyan 2 Gohan.
Okay, yeah, we're thinking part 2, I guess, at this point, right? So,
I
okay,
was kind of, I mean, two that like I thought Blue Vegito could be interesting.
Would start in base, and yeah.
yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, for
For
me,
UI Goku, I think would be cool.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I was gonna say UI Goku definitely is a good one, especially with these buffs for some of these teams. Obviously, for me, I feel like it's one of those things. They said that, like, you know, hey, we're gonna get around to doing them for all units eventually. I feel like we're gonna be waiting a good old time until the heroes units get them, if they even do.
Oh.
So, but maybe
Dude,
one,
isn't
maybe
it-
one day.
I saw someone say, "Isn't it crazy that they drop the final hero celebration and then right after we get a leader skill power creep?"
Yep. Yeah. Man. Done dirty every time.
Well, the Heroes team is a team of losers. We know this.
Man. No, never.
You just got to transfer to the Divers agenda when they start doing collabs with that. It's your only
Well,
option.
I mean, Divers has to do OC stuff first.
Yeah. All right, so we will finally move on from the new units, but overall, you know, they're all good. Vegeta not as good, but yeah, definitely some really great stuff in there in terms of design. Shame Vegeta is as not quite on the same level, but definitely a lot of exciting stuff in there. And so then that brings us to, in terms of new units, we do have 2 Super EZAs that came out today, who are definitely both very good. One of them, of course, I know Minato was talking about this before, very much impacted by the release of the new leader skill compared to some of the stats and calcs that we saw when his details first came out, back when 200% leads was, of course, all we had. So we will jump in to, first of all, talk about AGL Super Vegito. So mentioning that, of course, as what you were saying, Minato, before, do you want to take it away with this guy and give us your thoughts on him and how things have changed?
Yeah, I think that, like, how do I explain it? It's just really that buff where he had additional stats and things like that on top of what he, like, because prior, right, we didn't know about the 200% leader skills, and he was clearly designed for that, or the 220%. So that's why he obviously will just look a lot. Plus the extra support, the new partner, things like that, right?
Yeah. Right, okay, so Truth is going to be heading off here very shortly. So before we get into the full unit discussion for the Super EZAs, I just wanted to go through, shout out to everybody who is here for the live episode. Shout out to everyone who has dropped support so far. I just want to go through a couple of the questions that we've received while Truth is still here. I know Drace wanted to give a shout out with the super chat that says, Bill's getting cooked plus 10k shaft equals peak content. So
It was rough, Ninja. It was rough.
yeah, dude, I saw
You're
you.
across-
I thought my summons were bad, but that's just because I really didn't have a lot of stones going into the anniversary. But I saw the tweet. Was it like 10k with 1 copy pulled, which is
Yeah, so
that
so
is insane to me.
So I pulled Vegito on multi number 4,
Okay,
and then my second copy was multi 260.
gee, 260.
yeah.
Oh my
Did it
goodness.
live up to the Blue Boys? Like, where did that
That is
rank? Right? 'Cause
crazy.
That was like your record, right? In between copies, or was it that Gohan?
Minato, off the top of your head, did that banner have a buy one 3 get one free?
Which
Blue
banner
Cow
exactly? No, it doesn't. I'm pretty sure those banners never have that. The actual Tanabata
Oh.
Ooh,
banner.
then okay, and then
Has to
this
be.
one would have been worse. This would have
Mhm.
been worse if not for the free multis. Because
Oh,
I
wow.
think Luke did a full recap of it, and it was like 14,000 stones worth of multis to Rainbow.
Jeez. Yeah, that is
Yeah, let me. If you
wild.
give me 2 seconds, I can pull up the exact
So-
number.
14,000. So
Yeah, so it's
280 multis. And then you want free ones as well.
okay. It was 14,500 stones
Got
worth.
it.
290 multis.
Good lord. That is... Oh, boy.
So what's
Yeah,
what's
like-
the
I double checked, by the way. The Blue Cow Cannon Evolution again did not have the first one.
Yeah.
so it's
okay,
roughly
got
90. It's 97 freebies too. About. It's 94.
Jesus. Almost 100 free multis as well. That is
Mhm.
wild. Yeah, my luck started off good, and then I was really excited at first because I started on the Carnival banner because I thought, there's 2 new units there, so we'll start there. If we pull one, then we'll jump over and see what we can do about Vegito. And I pulled the Blue Evolution Vegeta in the first 3+1 rotation, and then proceeded to do all the rest of my 1,400 stones and did not get either of the other 2 characters. So it started off well and just all went downhill from here. Minato, did you get slightly better luck or?
I feel bad because I got pretty lucky.
Uh-huh.
I think I had about 1,400 stones, and then I went to Vegeta's banner. I was like, okay, I got him, and about I think 600. Then I went into the Carnival banner, and I ended up getting both of them, and I would say about probably closer to 400 even. And after that, I went back to the Vegeta banner, and then I got 2 more copies with the rest of my stones. So
Damn.
then I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm pretty set for part 2, where I have enough coins. I'll just buy the part 2 Dokkan Fest and go into the Carnival banner first. And then once I get them, I'll go back into the Dokkan Fest, I think.
There you go.
Sounds like a solid strategy. Vilify, I remember you telling me before, but what was your luck like?
Well, the main account, right? The one that I honestly don't even use this one on camera that much, unfortunately, because people are more interested in the global one. But the game crashed on a multi, and I got 2 and 1 for Vegito, and then right now I'm Carnival hunting, and then on
Yeah.
the global, Vegito took 300, and then
Damn.
the carnival took me for a bit of a ride. It took about 1,000 to get an animation, and I got a Zeno, and then that multi I happened to just get both in the same one.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of worked out. So about 1,200 stones on global to get both, and then
But yeah, that I remember you saying before, that game crash one, that's wild. It's like doing
Yeah,
a
it
summon,
sucks.
the game crashes, and then you load the game back up and you've got 2 copies of Goku in your
Yeah.
box. It's like, wow,
right.
That's nice.
Yeah, I lost a
Um,
screenshot. Right, of the 2 and 1.
all right,
Hmm.
but
I checked the summon history, and then I had to translate that page to figure it out what happened.
all right, so yeah, shout out to Drace. We got Sokodo re-upping his channel membership. He says interchangeable Rose Marsu when. That'll definitely be a good one for the reverse
That's the one I'm waiting
exchange.
for, yeah.
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 Because
Kinda nostalgic.
Rose battle motion? Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
With Ajo Rose.
Do the thing with his hand.
Yeah, dude, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
We got Weber Class with the super chat as well. So he says, with reversible exchange now fully in the game, what joined forces unit would you like to see be redone with this mechanic? I mean, obviously we have just mentioned Rose and Zamasu. A fun pick in my opinion is Goku and Piccolo from the Raditz fight. So are there any other joined forces units you guys think would be great for this reversible exchange mechanic? Obviously Goten and Trunks is one that comes to mind straight away. Any other big ones you guys want to see?
Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo.
Oh,
That'd be really cool.
yeah, that's a good
Um,
one.
I'm trying to think of another one. I mean, dang, I can't think of any off the
17 and
top of my
18.
Yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah. Truth, any top picks for you for reversible exchange?
Okay, besides Goku Black and Zamasu.
Yeah.
Join.
Yeah, chapter. I mean, God, Goku and Hit would be interesting because
Mm.
the thing about this mechanic is they'd be on so many teams,
Yeah, true.
right? That kind of fixes that issue.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's actually really good because that's a really good point because obviously it opens up the ability to have characters because nowadays, if we get a joined forces unit that is like Goku and Piccolo, as a joined forces unit, that completely screws them up for categories. Whereas obviously now you throw two very different characters together with this reversible exchange and they get all the categories. So that can definitely make for some very interesting units.
A new Gammas card.
Yeah.
Kalen Caulifla.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, there we go.
so yeah, definitely some interesting picks out there. So
What about a new Rand?
God.
All three of them.
Yeah, we get three. Yeah.
Triple
Triple
reverse.
Good lord.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, shout out to Weaver Class. Nero, so do you guys think this... Oh, this is a good one, actually, because I know we talked about this... I talked about this before. Do you guys think the second anniversary characters, the AGL and STR Super Saiyan 4s, could Super EZA before the end of the anniversary to help out the Giant 8 power team? Because it needs those buffs. What do you guys think the likelihood of that is by the end of the anniversary? Because we kind of know Gogeta and Janemba is going to happen, right? What do you think the chances are that STR Goku and AGL Vegeta Super Saiyan 4s Super EZA by the end of the anniversary?
I think they're gonna do a Sparking Zero, and then it's like with that they'll expand what we see in the roadmap. And then I was thinking that maybe like the Dokkan Fest after anniversary could be like, let's say a Daima character, then they expand it's like they add Daima to there. But then they could also do the same where it's like they add GT slots and make this tier 2s as well. Both options would be really cool because I like when they planned this anniversary, they obviously didn't have Daima in mind. They had this anniversary planned. They said 2 years ago, right? So I was thinking that they could expand the slots for like an EX part and add Daima there. And it's like the March Dokkan Fest. What if it's like a Daima character? And it's like they're like, oh, here's some Daima stuff, right?
That roadmap expansion idea is fire, though.
Yeah.
Sparking Zero. Yeah.
But it could be the EZA year 2s too. I'd be more than happy with that.
Mhm.
Because keep in mind, if I'm not mistaken, the year 2s and the year 1s, both of them didn't get the actual buffs, right?
Went straight
Yeah.
to the third year. Yeah.
They went straight to year 3, which I find
Yeah,
interesting
true.
because we all expected the year 1s to super easy, but maybe they do the year 2s as well. So
Yeah. Truth, do you
I
think
mean,
we'll see that? Year 2 Super EZAs before the end of the anniversary?
I do think for the EX part specifically, we could get more added to the roadmap. I
Okay.
think that's,
Mhm.
but that, like, remember the EX part would literally be with the next Dokkan Fest, so it'd be
Yeah.
like the first week of March.
Mhm.
But I was thinking, so they do that, and it could be like Rose and VB.
ooh, that'd be good too.
Because I feel like that is something that
Okay.
will probably hit
Yeah.
harder even than the Super Saiyan Force.
Yeah, that would be hype. No help to Goku's team, but that would definitely be super hype for sure.
They finally the first good Rose in years, right?
Hey.
Don't jinx it.
He'll cook. He has, bro. Doesn't he have guard?
All right, so we got the Philip Rodriguez with the gifted memberships. Shout out to you. We got Socrates says the problem with SSBE is that his highs are insane, but for his highs comparatively, he's asking a lot more than what he gives in Universe Survival Saga, which is an OP team. It's definitely very true. Elfcon with the $2 super chat says, could we get a what if LR Super Trunks and Vegeta? I think that'd be a very interesting what if
Like the Sparking Zero, what if,
Sort
where
of
they
card.
do like the double Final Flash.
Yeah,
thing.
dude, that would be awesome. I think that was when we were talking about, obviously, because Rivals is one of the themes, right? Like a part 2 LR Super Vegeta with a unit super with like Super Trunks. That would be that'd be fire.
How do you think people will react if we don't get Gohan, but we get Vegeta and Trunks?
Don't
Oh
even
god,
put that in
yeah.
the air.
Imagine how people are gonna react because I see there's so many people who are like it's gonna be, and I just think it'd be really funny.
Yeah, definitely would be interesting. We got Philip Rodriguez with the $2 super chat says Boo Team is one of the funnest teams to run. I mean, it definitely is pretty crazy, especially with Int Buhan that we're going to talk about here shortly. Last one in terms of questions, because I know Truth has to head off, is we got Talus, our boy Tala, with the... I need people to take a second look at Int LR Broly and tell me he isn't a top 10, even 5 LR. team since we got Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Int Buhan plus Kid Buu. So I know, Minato, you've always been a big fan of Int Broly. Truth, what are your thoughts on Int Broly and where he stands currently?
I want to try and be adamant to tell people that, like, we do want to kind of like shelve those talks really till later in the anniversary, because it'll settle itself nicely, right? Because maybe it's gonna be just like toxic craziness and that uncontrollable power team with Broly. He's got his domain up and he'll be able to handle whatever nonsense the bosses have, and a lot of characters won't. It's possible, for sure.
I mean,
But-
it could be the boss has their toxic mechanics when they have their I forgot what's the
Territory.
boss, the domain, territory, exactly, and then he cancels that out. Like, that's possible.
Yeah.
But we can't really tell. I think it makes sense where it's like I did my tier list just because I wanted to kind of at least the characters, but I feel like doing tier lists stuff like a characters, we're not gonna have a really great idea until like hardest fight of the game. I do really like in Broly though. I just don't know if I would personally put him in like top 10. He's in the talks though, but like top 5, I think is pushing it.
Yeah, it's definitely very good, but man, I'm so disappointed as well. Like,
there's no way I'm getting him ahead of Tech Broly. No.
Yeah.
Never.
It's a shame as well, because it's funny that they put the obviously the part 1 Dokkan Fests from the worldwide and the last anniversary are on the part 1 banner, which makes a lot of sense. But then they put the part 2 Carnival LRs on the part 1 banner. And obviously for me, out of the previous units, worldwide celebration, the only unit that I didn't get was Int Broly. So super looking forward to him coming back. But that is obviously going to be on the part 2 banner. So I've got to refresh. The chat has crashed here apparently, so just refresh that real quick. But yeah, so we got a super chat from Tala saying the next TUI is transforming Zarbon. I mean,
there you go.
That's been on people's list for quite some time, I think. And we got Exchange, Boss G with the super chat. I know I'm being greedy, but Exchange Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I mean, obviously that would be, if we're following the same sort of Vegito blueprint, that unit would definitely be super good, right? Reversible Exchange, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta with diffusion. Yeah. Animations for them as well. The sprites and all that would be pretty good. So yeah, there you go. So if that's a good time for shout out to everyone who did make the contributions, drop any questions, any shout outs. But yeah, we're obviously going to carry on. The episode will continue as we move into talking about the Super EZAs. And we got some discussion about Dokkan 2 as well. But obviously, big shout out to Truth for coming out and being on the episode to talk about the anniversary LRs with us. Anything else you want to add about the anniversary or just your thoughts on the current state of the game before you head off?
I love Dokkan 2. That's just, I think Dokkan is looking like, think about it like, 2023 November, we're fighting Fusion Zamasu, everyone's crying. No Super EZA, no battle motion. Oh, what a dark time that was, huh?
I think you did say before, right, you haven't had a great chance to use the Super EZAs, because we did just get a super chat from Socrates that says, I need to know Truth's thoughts on Int Buhan ASAP.
Yeah, that would be for tomorrow. I haven't quite been able to dip my toes deep into the Super EZA waters yet.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming on. I hope you have a good one. And yeah, we will continue on here and discuss the Super EZAs right now. So shout out to Truth.
All right, well, I love you all, angels. Thanks for having me. Goodbye. Mwah, mwah. Bye, everyone.
Peace out. All right, so got to take a quick second now. I have to reset the reset all the camera settings because it's now changed midway through. So
well, so while you're doing that, Minato, what do you think about Tech Vegeta's transformation condition?
Tech Vegeta?
Super Saiyan 2.
Oh god, not this again.
I hate it. I think it sucks. I think it's a loser transformation condition. Terrible. I mean, I guess right now it could be better because the units are long. Yeah. Actually, I want to talk about each of just because I wasn't able to kind of talk about him earlier because, well, obviously, Truth was like he had to go, so I kind of held it down there.
Yep.
But
so back to AGL Super Vegito.
Yeah, I think again it's a thing where you looked at him initially and based off like the numbers that he could do, he had issues even in some situations damaging Goku Frieza, which as an AGL unit with counters, it's like he didn't really look like he's gonna be like absolutely crazy. But then we got the new Vegito, and with the new leader skill buffs, even higher HP could help this guy in terms of like him with his only 40% reduction in terms of tank living some supers. But then the new Vegeta has a scouter. Then on that team, you could very comfortably run like Daima Goku, the new Super Saiyan 4 Goku's providing him extra like all the offense. And then now it's like, okay, before with AGO Vegito, who did you run as a partner? Like, what fusion did you really use? Like, we had Super Gogeta would probably be the best option, but then you wouldn't get like that Patara link, right? And things like that. It's just a lot is there to really help support this guy. And that's why he's, I think, just a lot better than he initially like looks like he was going to be. I'm actually much more of a fan of this guy than I thought it would be. I've seen talk of people saying this guy better than Tech Beerus. I could see it. I really like Tech Beerus.
Okay.
Personally, I think more than other people. He has the rage mode, he's just very simple and easy to use. But I think this Vegito is just providing overall more. He's still supporting. His counters can do really good damage. I had him do, like, again, keep in mind with the counter attack stat that shows, it's actually 3 times for him what appears. So the thing with this guy is he does like a 5 to 6 mil counter. That's actually like a 15 to 18 mil attack stat with each of these counters that he could do. And we have the scouter. We have a lot of scouters going on around his team. So that's really great. And if you do fall under 50% HP, he is not dying. Like, because he has the guard. So he's actually not going to even die. Another thing is his partnership with the Tech Vegito, right? You use the tech, even if you use the Tech Vegito's target skill and this guy doesn't do damage, put him in slot 1 and he provides what I think it's a 35% attack increase to the Tech Vegito's counters on his super attack, and that's really good too. I've had this guy, I think he hit like one turn for me like a 30 mil attack stat, man. And then he could, like, if he gets 2 super attacks especially, like, his supers could do really crazy damage on top of being a support character. I am much bigger of a fan of this guy than, again, I anticipated, and I actually really like him. I think they clearly designed him for this new team, and now we could really see what his intention was and why he is fantastic, super easy. I think at the end of the day, again, if he gets hit by like the hardest hitting supers, it could be an issue, but I feel like it's not terrible. It's not like hard to avoid that because of the scouters that we have. Like, one thing. So, really nice. I'm excited for future super easies that'll come based off of this guy that we'll talk about. But yeah,
I have a very small little story with this AGL Vegito. I think that's kind of funny. It has nothing to do with anything in the game.
Okay.
More of just, so what I do for some of my shorts is I like to talk about like projected super EZAs and like future EZAs that the game is afraid of, right? That's sort of the couple that I like to do. It's just a fun title or whatever. And I did one talking about this AGL Vegito in specific, where I'm like, what these Vegitos have, but the damage reduction and stuff like that, they're probably scared to give this guy a super EZA. And literally, I had that video edited, scheduled, ready to go, and like, as I go to sleep and I wake up in the morning, the details are revealed and people aren't a fan of him, right? And so it was just really bad timing because it was already ready to go, everything was out, and I still get like a comment like every couple of days that people are like, this didn't age well, right, and stuff like that, because it literally aged in 45 minutes. Like, that was how quick it happened. And now it's kind of fun because we could circle it back and be like, oh no, I was right, because look how good this guy is actually.
I mean, another thing, AGO Vegito, he had one 200% leader skill basically that was relevant, and that's the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Go Tanks. So even his team setup was like the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Go Tanks. He's obviously hard, but I feel like he doesn't really mesh well on Majin Buu Saga compared to, like, now that he has, like I said, Daima Goku stuff. And he's very clearly designed for this new team, and that's where he's very much impactful. And again, he's supporting the new LR and everything like that too himself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a funny world we live in at times.
Yeah, definitely a fun unit. I feel like he's one of those characters. He just provides a lot to the team, and I think people will just see like he isn't the biggest damage dealer, or like he isn't the best tank when it comes to supers, because obviously he's just going to eat like all normals all day long. But he just provides a really good cornerstone for the team, right? Because he has the ability to have a scouter. If you have any other kind of scouter effects up, then like he's a unit that will just tank all normals, do a bunch of extra damage with the counters, has that buff on his super attack effect. So yeah, he's just really, really solid, really good unit to throw onto these teams. And yeah, with the higher leader skill that he can now get with the new Vegito, definitely very, very impressive. So I thought he was really good. I didn't really see any of the stuff like, you know, private server showcases or anything like that before him getting his super EZA. So getting to see him for the first time like on that Vegito team, he definitely is very, very good. So of course, that brings us to our next unit, who is certainly very, very good. I think we briefly talked about it this morning after the super EZAs had come out in our group chat, but the Int Buhan, and oh boy, is this guy good. So Velify, go on, tell us your thoughts. Int Buhan super EZA.
I think what's scary is he has a higher ceiling than what we can see right now with the leader skills and stuff like that, where he's going to potentially get an extra buffs in the future.
I think it depends, because the thing about that is I feel like if he gets a 220% leader skill, the thing I would argue the Glorio's double support is probably still going to be more effective. But yeah, no, I remember because I used this guy yesterday, and I think some of you guys were probably in my stream yesterday. I think Phil was there. Someone I see in chat right now.
For like 2 minutes, I think I said hi and then left.
Yeah, no, I was using him and just like, I don't know, he's absolutely busted. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say this comparison, and I agree. I think this guy is better than the Blue Evolution Vegeta. Like, this guy he's orb changing, he's healing, he's nuking. He has massive damage reduction. He's supporting, right? He gives everything just for free.
Yeah.
I've never seen this guy below like a 40 mil attack stat. And he does 2 of them. Just guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
I've gone turns where this guy hit 60 mil attack stats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the setup that I got earlier, the optimal ultimate setup, which the funny thing about it is, which I said in the video, it's not even one of those things like we used to joke about showcases back in the day, especially from like Dokkan World, where it'd be like every showcase would have like off lead Kid Buu, right, for the like 50% support and stuff like that. This is a team that is giving a ton of support, but is perfectly runnable and viable in difficult content. And it's like you throw him on the double Glorio leads 200% team, so you got double Glorio support going for you. You got physical Kid Buu, big bad bosses, and then his support, and then you've got the tech Super Buu domain for like the tech Buhan. So with that turn, I think it was like 11 or 12 orbs with Buhan, and it's like 66 million attack, which because you pick up 3 or 4, whichever it was, rainbow orbs, it's like basically guaranteed crit, because 3 rainbow orbs is 99%, so you know, close enough. Basically guaranteed crit. And then he gets, the thing that's wild about it is he just gets a guaranteed additional super. So even though his attack stat doesn't go up, it doesn't really matter, right? It's a second 66 million attack stat. So, yeah, he's just crazy. And then, of course, hidden potential, you could get another one. I mean, in the run that I did, no boss was able to survive him doing 2 super attacks, right? 66 million with a crit. And then he's just absolutely laying waste to everything. So... yeah, he's wild.
I think he's best EZA2R easily. He's just doing way too much. Even though, like, the amount of healing he does as well, really nasty. Like, if you give him a turn with like 10 key spheres, that's 120 HP. Then he heals 15% at the end of turn. Then he has healing links.
Yep. And that's on a team, especially with other Boos, that's on a team that also has just tons of other healing as well, right? So the Boo team is still like the ultimate recovery team, right? It's almost like it doesn't matter how much HP you end the turn on, right? You basically just end up on like full HP by the time you're starting your next turn, like even if it's after you picked up the orbs.
Or like, dude, Omatsu, someone new, just loves Boo. because these Buhan character releases have been always just so good. I think the only time where a Buhan release and it wasn't like crazy, I think is like the original EZA Buhan. If I'm not mistaken, he came out and he was just like decent, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like outlandish, but I think this guy, I mean, his passive skill is called winning is everything. Man, oh my god, I just like so.
What a year for Majin Power, huh?
Yeah,
My
no.
camera keeps freezing, but yeah.
Yep.
Majin Power is just so good, but it's like demonic power basically at this point. I think is kind of the idea of it.
Right.
Yeah, no. I mean, imagine we get Garlic Jr. as like a demonic power leader, and then he's also just multi-turn supporting.
Yeah,
He's
dude.
just like, dude.
And that's the thing, as
like
we kind of alluded to in the discussion earlier, is that obviously Buhan, his best leader skill at the moment is still only a 200% lead. So if we do get this, let's say the Dokkan Fest after the anniversary is an extreme character and is giving 220%, that means this guy is going to be doing an extra 40% stats on top of what he's doing already from the double leads.
That's assuming that like they also support like Glorio would, which I'm not sure.
That is true, yeah, I guess, because the double Glorio support does obviously provide quite a lot, but depending what the team is. I mean, considering they gave him a 200% for demonic power and he released so soon after Slug, I would imagine that it's probably not going to be a 220% for demonic power, but either way,
I mean, it could be like some other category that would fit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options. I mean, again, he also fits uncontrollable power. So like, if we get like that Wrathful Broly, like that I was talking about earlier, and then it's like he's a 220% to demonic uncontrollable power. Like he could fit that team really potentially. But yeah, no. Big fan of this Buhan. Insane, busted, stupid.
Stupid is the best way to describe it. I think. It's like what the...
Yeah,
it makes you wonder if
busted.
sometimes these EZAs are bad or these super EZAs are no good when they have the capability to give characters ceilings like this.
I think it's really
even
nice.
Floors this like this, really.
Both these EZAs ended up being very impactful, very helpful.
Yeah,
huge fan of that.
And it's what they have to be for the anniversary, right? Why are people upset about Vegeta? Excuse me. It's just the impact doesn't really feel like it's there. And with Vegito, obviously that's a major impact. And it's like I guess the same thing could be said with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but it's not the same thing with Vegeta. And these EZAs, they live up to the standard, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, Minato, like I've seen people saying it too, right? But it's like people saying like Buhan over STR Blue Evolution Vegeta, and it's like, yeah, kind of, because the only nitpick in Buhan really is that against some of the real hard hitting bosses, he can't go slot 1. I think I tried out just to see what he would be taking, and against that full power Frieza at the end of the Namek Goku, the Goku story Namek stage, because obviously he hits quite hard and crits. In slot 1, Buhan still took like 800k, which I mean, in certain situations, again, if we start getting these higher leader skills, you would still survive that as well, which is kind of wild. And that's like his worst case scenario, is that he'll die to a slot 1 super from certain bosses, right? Which is, yeah, the only sort of nitpick for him, which the teams that he's on has slot 1 units. He can go slot 1 in certain phases anyway. So like, yeah, he's just incredibly good. Would certainly probably agree that he is the best EZA TUR for sure. And that's only being able to be run on a 200% lead. So definitely very exciting. Yeah, the Boo team has a lot of good tech. So yeah, definitely very, very cool. So
I don't know what you mean. There's no tech unit on the Boo team besides the Boo.
That's the funny thing is, even who has aged really well, Tech Exchange Boo EZA.
Yeah,
like he's still great on that team.
He's probably a bit underrated.
Yeah, a ton of damage reduction. When he gets to Super Boo, he can do some big damage. Like, yeah, he's still really good.
With these longer events, you can get Super Boo.
Yep. So yeah, STR Kid Boo obviously got that really good EZA. Like, yeah, Boo team absolutely stacked at the moment. So we'd love to see that
coming down the pipeline. I said, and guess who's coming down the pipeline? Some more margins.
Oh, of course, yeah. Future Diamond characters as well. So yeah, definitely good stuff. So those are the 2 super ECAs we got today. Obviously, I guess we could talk a little bit of speculation, of course, the EZA banner, because of course it has Vegito and Buhan, it has Gogeta and Janemba, who I feel at this point is we basically all but confirmed are going to Super EZA, right? And then we also had Tech Cell on the banner, so
Yeah.
are we thinking Super EZA for him? I feel like it's got to be it's the reason why he's on the banner, right? Surely, so
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we already expected that, but he's definitely going to Super EZA.
Mhm.
I'm seeing also people talk about like if he Super EZAs into LR Gohan Super EZA could be really cool too. But if we're gonna focus on these two, I'm like, I know Super Gogeta will be good, but I'm way more excited about the villains.
Yeah.
Imagine Tech Cell as an orb changer, a rainbow orb changer, the nuking passive. Like he's literally like, imagine him just like.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what's so crazy, right? Is because he does have a similar sort of blueprint to Buhan, like being a nuking style unit. So seeing how crazy Buhan is, Tech Cell could easily be just as good, if not better, which would be crazy.
I mean, the only thing about Tech Cell is that he have a runner right now, but we could get some sort of Cell later on. Also, I think he has. Does he not have 6 links?
I think he has 7, but they're not very good. He has all those. He has those links like the
Yeah, he does have like Ultimate Life Form and stuff like that, right?
yeah, all my
Yeah,
life
it's
form
like-
and-
You look at his. No, he doesn't. You look at his link set. He links with Int LR Cell. I mean, EGL Cell EZ this year would be peak, right?
The thing is, as well, though, is they often do like to make up for it, right? Because his link set is quite bad. He does at least have big bad bosses. Like, hopefully they'll just make up for that with the passive and everything for his Super EZA. Because in a lot of these situations, you could throw him on these extreme teams, and he's only really going to have fierce battle and big bad bosses active. But if his passive is good enough, then
too.
yeah, exactly. So if his passive is good enough and he's got that bit of support as well, then it doesn't necessarily matter as much that his link set isn't too good. So
I mean, what 200% is he on right now? That Cell, he's on. Oh, he's on in Broly's, but he's not on uncontrollable power right now. So you wouldn't really run him there. He's on the Buhan 200% team, the Tech Buhan. He's on. He jails Super Saiyan 3 Goku's team. I guess.
yeah, because that's the thing. He's on Kamehameha. So like, if we get a part 2 Gohan and Kamehameha is part of his leader skill, even though he's not going to be getting big bad bosses, like he could be on that team. And some of these Super EZAs, the Buhan and Vegito don't, but like some of these EZAs, actually no, they do, right? It's all allies, but it's a specific enemy. Some of these Super EZAs we saw, right, are giving support to extreme or super class allies as well. So funnily enough, like depending on what his passive is, Cell Super EZA could end up being on like a new Gohan's team if we get a new Gohan in part 2. So
it does suck a little that this guy's non-power absorption, but at least he fits the Tech Buhan team. So that's really good. Is he on Glorio's lead? He is, because he's like battle. He's on Glorio's team too. Yeah, so
that's what's so crazy. You could run all 3 of those. So you got Buhan, Janemba, and then Tech Cell. Super like EZAs all on Glorio's team.
Kid Buu plus Buhan, and then Janemba plus, or maybe it could be another rotation, but yeah, no, Kid Buu plus Buhan, then Janemba plus Cell.
Yeah, dude, that could be crazy. Double Glorio supports, like,
or Janemba plus Buhan and then Cell plus some other character, like something like that. Like, could be.
You
really
said
great.
cinema earlier.
Cinema for sure.
Hell yeah,
dude, I love villains. Villain teams are fun.
This is just Omatsu paying villains back for the last 3 years or whatever the number. I don't know what the number.
Someone in chat asked, all the sales post like his revive, he is not on power absorption. I guess because he doesn't have 18 anymore, but he saw 17. I just think it's weird. But it's whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
All right.
I
Well,
guess
that's
it's because he technically had absorbed anyone after that, like compared to like when it was previously, like he still absorbed 18 for that. But yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, so that's the new units, and obviously a little bit of speculation about what we could see. One of the big things we wanted to talk about, of course, because it wasn't fully implemented from the last episode, is, of course, as Truth was mentioning a little bit before he left, is Dokkan 2. So the update fully in the game. We've already seen our first little minor update for it as well, which is cool, especially because it kind of hopefully shows that they are sort of looking at and listening to feedback, because some of the things that got mentioned very early on have already been fixed, with the stuff like the being able to check your team and the rotations while you're on the map screen. Obviously, there was the weird way that the cut-ins were working when the update first came out, which in a way I thought was kind of cool, but then at the same time it was annoying as there were a lot of cut-ins coming up. But yeah, now that we have Dokkan 2, I love that that's just the name that we're all sticking with now, which is great. Yeah. But now that the update is live in the game, especially, you know, considering we are all long-term players now, how do you guys feel about the update? Are you used to like the aesthetic changes and all that stuff already? Nitpicks, pros and cons. What are all your thoughts on Dokkan 2 now that it is in full swing? So Vilify, I know you're itching to go. You go first. I can see you're both ready, so I'm gonna instead of talking over each other, let's let Vilify go.
Let me just I guess I'll just quickly, you know, we can bounce off here, right? But I like how seamless it seemed to be in terms of like how, like, obviously this is a very simple gameplay loop, but it doesn't feel like it does just feel like a nice fresh coat of paint that makes everything look nicer, right? And the quality of life with the passive reading, I know some people for some reason don't like it. I saw a tweet like that for some reason, but the passive change, obviously so much nicer and easier to read.
So much better.
Right, and it's just the accessibility is one of the most important things in terms of bringing new people in and keeping players around, right? And when we have this type of change where the game is easier to read, it only makes things like better for the game, because odds are there's more people playing, which means there's more likelihood that people are going to spend money, which means the game lasts forever. Not literally, but it keeps going. So I really like the update, really good changes. You already addressed it with the cut-ins, right? Like Tech UI Goku was just putting the game down to a screeching halt in terms of the gameplay. But overall, I don't really have too much to complain about. It's nothing really too worth talking about in that sense, but overall, really good. I'm super excited to see what kind of changes they keep making, though, if it's ongoing, or like how many changes will they make upcoming based on feedback. But I really like it so far.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like, you know, we always talked about like, you know, EZA characters and how it's like it's nice that they feel like some people like the EZA characters, like, you know, with the original super attacks, stuff like that. I always wanted a way where it's like we could like switch like existing character super attacks that we own of new characters onto existing characters if it's like maybe the same super attack name or something. But I think the new sprite updates and them applying it to old characters really just feels nice. It really does make like AGL Super Vegeta Super EZA feel like a like character, right? Does that make sense? And yeah, so hopefully eventually, I mean, the only thing that sucks is like Buhan is like, we're probably not going to get another Buhan anytime soon. So I would assume he might not get a sprite sooner than later. But
right.
Yeah, I think applying to older characters is definitely nice, and you know, over time we'll get more. So that's really cool.
Except Evolution Blue Vegeta for some reason, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens eventually, I guess. Yeah, full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Like, they probably knew a lot of people use in Super Saiyan 4, so they applied that there. I'm trying to think of other characters. I mean, yeah, we talked about it earlier, what characters we want to see with it, but it's pretty cool.
One of my favorite things is the grabbing an orb animation.
Yeah, like, the way they like shatter up the thing. I think that looks really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like it's one of those things. It's just like anything. When I very first saw like the very first screenshots, as we talked about in previous episodes, because it was different straight away, it's just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, but I feel like it has grown on me enough already. I think the display, like the fact that the font is so small for your HP, I think is a little bit annoying. It also gives you the percentage now, which is cool, but doesn't show like the max HP anymore, which is not a huge issue, but is something that is interesting. The wheel being replaced, I like that, where it just shows you the next 3 characters, but obviously the wheel we were used to and had that easy accessibility of knowing straight away who your rotations were. Like I said, they did fix that so you can just press the button and see the thing come up. I think it's very interesting the way that they did it though, because it's like it's not an actual button to bring up the menu like you would in battle, because you can't click on any of the things. It just brings up the like an image that shows the list for your team, but it serves the purpose that people asked for, which was being able to see what your rotations were before you went into the fight, which obviously helps with sort of resetting if you're doing difficult runs or challenge runs or something, which is good. But yeah, overall, I definitely think it is very good. You're right there, Minato?
I said no. I said like showcases too.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's so annoying when it's like, yeah, having to quit out, but you have to go into the fight first. Like that was the only sort of minor nitpick from before. But yeah, overall, I think it's good. The new normal attacks thing is really cool. Like I know that's something that like Goresh had been asking for years, and now seeing them actually in play, it really does like. You know, they're not like super hype, like, oh, these are so good, but it's just like it does sort of just refresh it a little bit rather than seeing the same very basic like normal attacks over and over again. So I do quite like that. And then yeah, when it comes to the aesthetic stuff, just like the colors of the things on the screen and the font and stuff like that, I feel like that was just very quick to get used to. So yeah, overall definitely very good. Not sure if there's any other bits that I've missed in terms of what specifically was updated. Are there any improvements you guys want to see that they haven't yet done in terms of any sort of visual or UI? And is there anything that you prefer from the way it was before, potentially?
No, honestly, I can't really think of anything on top of my head. I think that, like maybe like how the HP looks, but at this point I'm kind of getting used to it, so I don't mind. I don't really think that there's much I personally would like to change about it. I think I like what it is. I guess, yeah. One thing that sucks is like, we got all the new icons which are really, but you still can't see like, if it's like high chance, the great chance to guard if this character is like, you can't see that starter turn still because the game won't recognize if you're slot 1 or not until the rotation starts. So like, I think that's one issue about it. That's the only thing I'm thinking where it's like, yeah, it would be nice if it was, what's it called? Like some way to do that, but I'm not sure if they would be able to with how the game works. So sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah, that's you saying it like you don't know how they like you don't know if like it's how the game works is potentially the problem there. I don't know why I just completely I had the train of thought and then I lost it. Oh my god, what were you? What was the thing you were talking about? I don't know what
About
happened.
like the slot, like say like a character.
Yeah. Like that is vital information on where you're placing a character because the quickest example that just comes to mind to me, even though like you're not running him right now, is AGL Super Boo, right? Where he's not guarding and you have to kind of run that Russian roulette of putting him in slot 1, and it's like if I know he's guarding, it helps you with that. With
AGL Super Boo, you can see that. It's specifically characters who passives are like, if this character is in slot 1, they could get. That's like the only thing why we can't see it. I believe because it's like that doesn't activate that way. But another thing they could change is the wording of a lot of things. Like they changed the wording of a lot of things, which is really good. The one thing that they didn't change the wording for is certain characters get abilities like depending on being an attacker in that slot rather than just being in that slot. But on global, they don't differentiate that. So let's say when the year 5 fusions in the future get a super EZA and there's in slot 3, all their passes are when attacking in slot 2, when attacking in slot 3. So if that's why the blue fusions dodge didn't work against fusions Zamasu because they have to actually attack first. And then they made an update around in 2022 where it's like, when this character is in that slot, not when they're attacking in that slot. The first character that had that was AGL Jacko. I remember that very vividly. And they don't differentiate that. So I think with the concept of super EZAs, a lot of these old characters, they work in a certain way where you're not going to be able to tell the difference based off the wording. And then let's say, it could just lead to issues. Or, you know how some of those older characters like the blue fusions, you could use their active skill in slot 3 and then they get the dodge in slot 1. That won't apply to certain other characters. I don't know. It's that's one thing that they could fix. But that's really it. It's just like a little pick about.
You gotta love it, We're talking about Tech Cell potentially getting a super EZA, and you're already talking about the year 5s.
I mean, it's just an example.
I
There's
know,
tons of characters like that, but yeah,
Right.
because people know how to do that. Like people know about those characters. Like,
Mhm.
spread.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And a lot of these older characters don't have stuff like that. Like, we were talking about before the show, especially with like Janemba's Super EZA, right? I literally just went and looked at his passive. It's 2 lines, and one of them is just attack plus, I think 5,000.
Yeah.
So
Actually, yeah.
that might not be it exactly, but it's like 2 words. So just a funny way that things work.
Okay, so with that in mind, we did have a section where I guess we could come back to on the next episode as we get into the later stages. We can talk about the red zones and stuff. We kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, especially with the new units, these stages are a little bit easier. I know the blue zone that came out, we only got 2 stages so far. I would say that's not even on the level of the stages we got for the red zones, the Goku story, Vegeta story. But of course, by the time we get to the end of the anniversary, this was something I mentioned earlier in the episode, right? Like with the 7th anniversary and the red zone, it was the later stages that were the ones that became, the toughest fights in the game. So we'll be able to talk about those more on the next episode once those are all out. We should have an idea of the part 2 units by then. In fact, when are the part 2 units expected to potentially release?
The 14th, 15th.
Okay, yeah. So so we should have
You
the
know what I mean?
details then by the time we are at the next episode potentially. So
Yes, we know it's going to be the 15th in Japan. The next episode for us is the 14th. So like the episode, honestly, the episode might line up like if they drop at the same time, the banners will drop in the middle of this episode. So we might have to change.
Yeah,
time.
so the time might be rescheduled, but obviously we'll keep you guys
Or we might do the day
up to
later
date with
potentially.
that.
We'll keep it all updated.
Yeah, so we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, the next episode will be basically right before the part 2 characters come out. And then we'll be able to talk about more of the events and stuff. Because at the moment, we've had some interesting events come out. But yeah, nothing really too crazy so far in terms of difficulty. So that brings us on to the final segment of the episode, which is the Trash Takes segment. This one was definitely an interesting one. And so we are not going to waste any time here. We're just going to jump straight in and have a look here. So this one comes to us from Jdell. It says the anniversary roadmap overall was a bad thing for the anniversary. Not to say it can't work, but the way they did it hurt the celebration more than anything. We could project almost 100% of the anniversary before part 1 even started. And there is actually a secondary reply, so I'll just read that as well. It says, if most of the community can predict 5 out of the 6 LRs and most of the EZAs with possible character choices spanning the literal entire series of Dragon Ball, that is not good design. It feels like we're just waiting with no room for discussion at this point. So yeah, I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first, but what are your thoughts on this take? And I will go ahead and set up the poll in the chat here.
I will say I didn't expect an Evolution Blue Vegeta. Or if I said I just meant Evolution Blue Vegeta for this anniversary. But I think there is some level of validity to it where it did make it very kind of easy to piece it together. But like also EZAs for this period of the year are usually pretty easy to kind of piece together. Where, we talk about like the year 7s, like without that roadmap, we already know, right? And with the Super Gogeta, Super EZA, like it was already pretty likely. And it's like, yeah, this roadmap is here, but a lot of these things were already being like hot discussions of the community. Were there some surprises? Sure. But it's close, I guess. I don't know. Like I think there is some validity to it, but I think the roadmap also, it can also lead to more fun predictions and discussion because you could put visuals to it, right? Like how many people, I'm sure you've made a custom one, Minato's probably made a custom one, right? You see custom ones on Twitter all the time. And I think that it's not like discussion is just gone. Is there some like level of delusion or something like that in terms of like who the characters could potentially be? Sure. There's some people have theories of characters that are probably not realistic, but that's always like the roadmap doesn't really like kind of change that, right? Where people were going to say like, because Dragon Ball was mentioned, like Kid Goku would have been one of the LRs no matter what, regardless if there was a roadmap or not.
I think
I don't know.
the roadmap is very nice in terms of them being open about what's happening. I think communication is always important. And I think with the roadmap, it can lead to a lot of excitement and them telling us, yeah, we're at least representing every part of the series is good. So that, we know and we could talk about other parts of the series that, really talk about first place. And then I think it allows us to, have more focused discussions about the anniversary as well. And it's exciting to see the roadmap fill up personally to me. And it's like, okay, well, we see if this was right and if this was actually wrong, then we can kind of figure out where this will go for the future and things like that. But I think that, this is also probably like a take coming from someone maybe on Twitter a lot. And if you're like, I don't know, you're like Joe who plays like once every other day, and then you're
Joe from accounting.
yeah,
I always use.
You see the stream, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then like you're just like, looks cool. To a lot of people, it wouldn't really do as much. Like you could say maybe it leads to some less like less unique concepts for the anniversary. But I don't know. I think there's still a lot of options in each of these slots that people are talking about anyways, where like no matter what, I think seeing the themes of what the banners are, people are going to be like, oh, we're probably going to get like a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, or we're going to get like some other character that would fit one of those themes specifically. So I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens, but I think it's pretty cool.
I think with this anniversary, most of the time, like you could talk about how it's like they don't get creative with the anniversary in terms of the character picks, because that is this is a window where they know that they're going to make the most amount of money and they want to play it safe in terms of who they're picking, right? So it's like last year, the face of the anniversary pre-Beast was like Gogeta Blue, and then this year it's Super Vegito, and you could just go back in time, and it's always like, the 8th anniversary is kind of the biggest anomaly of all of those, but it's still like Super Spirit Bomb Goku.
Yeah.
Right. So that's still like an iconic moment from the series. So they don't really they don't steer off of that path too much. So it's like, we could sit here and say like it takes away like from some of the excitement. And I'm just kind of talking specifically at the take, not more, but like with the way the Minato's thinking, right? But it's always going to be a heavy hitter for this anniversary, and it's like usually they can be fairly easy to predict. So it's like you kind of get like one teaser and it's like, all right, we can kind of piece this together, right? Where it's like we saw that with even like with Worldwide, right? We got like remember those teaser videos that they were posting like every week? It was like a vague hint, and then eventually like there was like a cope for Demon King Piccolo, but like everybody knew it was Broly from like the second video or something, right?
What I do want to say is I also think that it's very obvious what they will do for anniversary anyways. So like them giving us a roadmap doesn't make it where it's like, oh, it's not as obvious. I think at the end of the day, people are gonna have the same takes. For the most part.
What were we saying since like freaking October? We were like, it's gonna be probably Super Vegito and then another fusion for the anniversary, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
and then lo and behold, look who's headlining part 1.
Yeah, people were thinking we're gonna get some GT character. Hey, guess what? We get some Super Saiyan 4 for the year 7s. Guess what? We got Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? I think it's just really obvious because we know you get to see like based on what they do with EZAs especially, it's already like a little map. So them just laying it out to us, like it just makes it personally
visual clarity
too. Yeah.
It's like so let's just say like hypothetically the 11th anniversary is Tournament of Power. Who do you think's going to be part of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Like it's just this game is like they can give you surprises and that's the fun of it, but this roadmap doesn't take away from surprises, right? Because like even if you can predict who the character is, like what did we see from even with a predictable Super Vegito? We saw a new animation where Vegeta crushes the Potara and a Super Saiyan 3 Goku cameo that we couldn't have seen if we hadn't seen the animation. I mean, so it's like
if anything, the roadmap could lead people to planning their summons out too, where it's like, okay, maybe right now you're waiting a bit to use all your stones, and then now you're like in a situation where, okay, well, I can kind of tell who might be there too. So just in case, I'm gonna just kind of hold off in summoning rather than having the complete clarity compared to before. Well, even then, it's not even like incomplete clarity, because you can always just tell, even without the roadmap, people say the same things again. So like when we got the part 1 LRs revealed, was the roadmap shown with that? It was actually.
Yes.
But still, I think people were like
Yeah.
thinking Super Vegito and stuff like that.
So
Also,
play
my mic keeps cutting off. I'm sorry, chat.
So play with me in this scenario here, right? Like imagine, like you said, with planning summons, right? We have this part 1 thing, and let's just say the roadmap looks a little bit different, and we still have 4 slots over in the Dragon Ball series, right? Like I'm sure some people wouldn't want to summon for that because they're like, oh, there's 4 spots left. There's no way that's going to be 4 free units or 4 EZAs. It's probably going to be one of the summonable LRs. So they're thinking like, oh, I don't want to summon for a Dragon Ball character, so I can go even deeper into part 1. So it's like, you know, it helps. Like I think it's just a useful tool for content creation, for talking about it, speculating, and discussion amongst the community. It's helpful for players who see the picture of it and want to decide whether or not they want to summon, and it makes things easier just to understand in general. And that's kind of been their theme throughout 2025 with Dokkan 2, right? Like more accessible, more understandable, and this is good. Minato said it earlier with communication. Transparency is always nice with these games because we've been through 10 years of this, and that sometimes has been an issue with like communications from the devs, transparency. We haven't seen a lot of that, and now getting it in this way in a visual form is even better. So I think that having this roadmap is good. I don't think it did really. I think it's helped the anniversary more than it's hurt it because it was already kind of predictable to a degree.
Yeah, I would agree with what you guys said. I think it's definitely an L take. I think someone did mention it in the chat earlier. If I scroll up a little bit, I think it was Raldo. There are certain points where I could kind of see where I don't even necessarily think it's a bad thing, but there are certain points where I can see it does maybe limit. I don't know if speculation is the right term for it, but when it comes to things like you said, we've all made our own custom ones. I did a video going over people's custom ones that they'd made in my Discord. And there is obviously a couple of the sections, you know, where you get to like, there's 2 slots for Saiyan Saga, there's 2 slots for Namek Saga, and like basically everyone puts the exact same thing, right? It's like the Full Power Frieza and Namek Goku EZA, and then like Kaioken Goku and Great Ape Vegeta EZA, because if there's only going to be 2 slots that are Saiyan Saga, like what else is it going to be really? And so from that aspect, I could maybe see people like not liking it, I guess, for that reason, because in that sense, I guess you could say it almost kind of spoils the surprise. But I feel like with where we are in the timeline for a lot of these EZAs and stuff, we would be expecting them to come around this time anyway, right? So having those 2 slots for, like, I'm on the other side of the coin. Like, I try and be glass half full with stuff with this game as much as possible anyway. But I tend to be on the other half of the coin where seeing those, like, you know, there's just 2 slots for Namek Saga. Well, then that to me is essentially, like many other people will see it, that's confirming that we're getting those 2 EZAs. And then that's hype because I want those 2 EZAs. And now I know that we are going to get them rather than still wondering when we're going to get them in the future. And then, yeah, it did lead to some very interesting speculation for some of the slots, because I know one of the big theories that came out very early on, I saw a couple of people posting it. Shout out to Prof in our community who had come up with the idea and was going to tell me all about it and post about it, but decided to go to bed instead. And then somebody else posted about it and it blew up before he got a chance to mention it. But that was the whole theory, which does so far seem to still be true, that the larger slots on the board are for new characters and the smaller slots are for EZAs and Super EZAs. And of course, then that led to some very interesting speculation when it came to part 2, because then a lot of people, myself included, kind of got onto the train of thought that it was like, well, you know, we can't see like a Z Movies character for the part 2 Dokkan Fest because there's no slots available for a banner unit. And obviously, you know, that may not be the case now, right? So it's very interesting. Like, it gives you a lot of openings on the board where you can kind of come up with these ideas. A lot of people, because there's an extra slot for Android/Cell Saga, a lot of people really want to see a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan as one of the new units for part 2. And just knowing the theme, it obviously gives room to speculate that he could be there because one of the carnival themes for the summon is family. But then by getting that visual representation of like, hey, there's a slot for a new unit from the Android/Cell Saga, that gives that extra little bit of credence to that speculation, right, that it's going to be a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So I do think the roadmap's really exciting. I think it's very cool. It's something that just kind of gives everyone something to talk about. People making their own custom ones, slowly like filling in the one with all the slots once we find out what they all are and stuff like that. Like, I thought that has been very cool, and definitely something that I think they should carry on like doing for future celebrations. So I do think that when it comes to the take itself, I think that is a massive L. Even if you don't necessarily like it or the way it was done, I think just for the take itself, right, overall was a bad thing for the anniversary. I don't think that that is true at all. Even, you know, like I say, some of the slots, some of the EZAs seem very obvious, but the last line, we could project almost 100% of the anniversary before part 1 even started. I mean, like Vilify said, right, if you, even knowing the theme, right, fusion, and it's basically fusion, right, Powerborn from the Strongest Duo, and then Rival and Family, like, I would not have said, oh yeah, one of them's going to be Blue Evolution Vegeta, right? Like, even with, so like having the roadmap did not help whatsoever just by knowing that there were slots for a Dragon Ball Super character. I probably still wouldn't have guessed a new Blue Evolution Vegeta, and I certainly would not have guessed a Blue Evolution Vegeta with a UI Goku unit super attack, right? So overall, I think it's definitely a cool little feature. It gives people something to like get on board with, and then obviously if you are that more casual player, it's just something that you can kind of, you maybe see it once on a tweet or something, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, and it's kind of neither here nor there. But if you do want to get into it, it's a nice visual, literally roadmap for the anniversary. So yeah, I definitely think it's cool.
Let me put a hypothetical out there real quick. What if you say you were someone who literally doesn't have any Dokkan social media like connection at all? Is there any way you would have seen the roadmap if you just play the game?
I don't think so.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, in game they did not link to the.
It would link to the stream, right?
Yeah, so like
stream. Okay.
in game you would be able to see the stream, and then if you watch the stream, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, again, the JP stream itself had 100,000. Was it 100,000? What?
I thought it was like even higher than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was higher.
Yeah, so and then that's not even including the global stream. So there's obviously going to be so many people that watch the stream, or maybe they saw on Facebook or something like that.
Right.
Like they saw it and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," or even like they see like they're on YouTube and they see like the Truth GT video recommended, and then they see the roadmap as the thumbnail, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Or they
On
see
Reddit-
Minato's Flash video recommended, I think is the
Yeah.
better way to put that.
Or like, you know, on Reddit or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're people will likely have seen it without even having to interact.
Mhm.
So-
Just
Yeah.
I was just kind of just throwing that out there. It was more of just like, is there any way to see the road? Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, if you're someone who is not really plugged into the community or like the social media side, it is possible that you wouldn't have seen it. But then I suppose for those kind of people, apart from, I guess, their own thoughts, probably not as crazy about speculating anyway, because that's one of the fun things to do as part of the community. So yeah, I think overall, I guess then we are all in agreement that it's an L take here. Chat seems to be, actually, to be fair, it's not as one-sided as I thought.
Okay.
We're in the poll here. Shout out to everyone who took part in the poll. As we always say, if you're watching back the VOD or listening on Spotify, do try to make it out to the live episodes if you can, and take part in this the interactive part of this segment here at the end. But we do have L take 68% and W take 31%. So it's almost a third to 2/3. So that's very interesting. Yeah, like we got someone in chat saying, if you voted W, please state why. Because it's very interesting to... we're all sort of in agreement that it's not a great take. I saw a lot of comments. I mean, as soon as we started the segment, there was a lot of L take comments in the chat. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
I think, you know, if you're hoping for a character that kind of got deconfirmed, then you would not be happy about it, right? But that's really it.
yeah, I suppose if you're like if you're like an OG Dragon Ball defender, and then as soon as we saw that Demon King Piccolo like puzzle tweet thing, then it's like, well, there you go. There's your only Dragon Ball Saga character for the entire anniversary now confirmed. I guess that would be a little bit disappointing, but But yeah, bit of a surprise to see that many for W, but L takes still the majority vote. So thank you guys in the chat for taking part, letting us know what you guys thought. So that does bring us to the end of the episode here. I've gone back to the 4-man one. There we go. This brings us back to the end of the episode here. I'll just double check if there was any other things that came in after Truth left. We do have a super chat from Philip Rodriguez that says, whoever worked on Buhan, I pray really hard, worked on the part 2 new units. Yeah, because Buhan is he's definitely on that level, so he's very, very good. We got Philip Rodriguez re-upping his membership as well. He says, I'm excited for Texel. He was my first Dokkan Fest unit. Nice, old school. And then we have a super chat from Nichigo that says, LR Gohan Super EZA. So yeah, I think that was mentioned earlier, but what do you guys think? Because obviously LR Gohan, the first summonable LR, technically. What are your thoughts on him being the first summonable LR Super EZA? There is that extra slot for Android/Cell Saga if Texel is indeed getting his Super EZA. There's still one more slot there. What are your thoughts on the likelihood of that happening?
I think that it's very likely. I think that it makes a lot of sense to me. The first LR Super EZA being during the 10th anniversary would be peak. And I think that Gohan is one of the characters, like, first LR just in general. Well, actually, yeah, he's just first LR in general, right? I think they're trying to touch into the very special Dokkan.
You're talking summonable, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure it's Prime Battle Goku was the first.
Well, yeah, summonable LR, I guess I should clarify.
Just making sure.
Yeah, my bad. He's the first summonable LR. Yeah. They're trying to touch a lot of these like special moments in Dokkan with the references and things, so I could easily see it on.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only thing that maybe would make me less convinced is if obviously if one of the part 2 new units is a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and it is just a standalone, like straight out of the gate Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Not that they wouldn't do it because they have done that before, but I feel like that would kind of maybe lessen the impact, like lessen the hype a little bit if he has the same name as the part 2 Carnival LR. But obviously they've done that before, a few times. Recent examples like Dragon Fist Goku and then LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku getting an EZA. Even whilst they're not at the same time, we've obviously got the Buhan EZA, and Tech Buhan was the most recent Buu release, and they share the same name. So it doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but it certainly could affect the impact a little bit if the part 2 unit does have the same name. But yeah, I definitely think it is a possibility and would be fun to see. So yeah, those are the extra couple of contributions that came in just at the end there after Truth had gone. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks to everybody who came out for the episode, everybody who supported. Shout out to Truth, obviously, for using the time that he had available to come onto the show and chat about the anniversary stuff with us. And as we said, the next episode, 2 weeks from now, potentially, I guess it depends. We'll let you guys know, because obviously with what the schedule could be for the units releasing. 2 weeks from now is the 14th as well, which is Valentine's Day. So potentially we'll see what's going on in terms of that kind of stuff. If the units are going to come out on the 14th around the same time or later than the podcast, then potentially we will delay the episode, because we could do it maybe when the units are out. But of course we will keep you guys posted, so make sure you are following us on Twitter at the Slot 1 Super Podcast Twitter account. But yeah, that is going to be it for episode 60, the first part of the 10th anniversary special. I appreciate you all coming out. Shout out, as always, to my co-hosts, Minatos, Flash, and Vilify. I have been the Masked Ningen, and this has been the Slot 1 Super Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.